customer service rep, Christine Hurst, is suing her ex-boyfriend, security guard Clinton Burton Jr., for assaulting her and destroying her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Order. Yeah, this is case number 319 on the calendar, the matter of Hurst versus Burton.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Hurst, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant met a little over a year ago through a dating service.
Yes.
And you started to date, and then the relationship cooled off a bit. Recently, during this past summer, you decided to rejuvenate the relationship, and you contacted the defendant and began a series of telephone communications that ultimately led to some casual dating.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then there was an evening in July, September? When was it?
September 13th.
That something happened that you're going to tell me about, because it is your claim that he assaulted you and broke a piece of your property at an evening that was supposed to be a pleasant evening at his home. Mr. Burton said he did no such thing. So why don't you tell me how the evening started?
September 13th, he was calling me. He was telling me he called out throughout the day, saying, "Why don't you come on over, come on over?" And I was hesitant. I said, okay. I waited later in the day, and then I told him, I said, you know what, okay, I'll come.
How many times had you called her that day, sir?
Your Honor, I only called her like one time, and she called me. I didn't call her.
Okay, so you called him back and said what?
About the fourth or fifth time he called, I finally said, okay, I'm going to go get some movies. I'm going to go get some, house wine. And then we had a nice dinner that day.
What time did you get there?
I would say about 5:30.
And you drank wine?
We both drank some wine, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then just out of nowhere, at the end of the dinner, he came out with some kind of game playing, saying, well, I did this and I did this through the relationship.
I did this. What did he say?
He put up all the financial, as far as dating, when a man is going to go ahead and take you out to eat and stuff, they go ahead and, they pay for the eating and all. So he was bringing all that up. And then when I started getting ready to say, well, I did this and I did that, he started covering my mouth, but in a joking manner, playing manner. And then it turned out to where he wanted to get some wine. Well, he didn't have any money, so he was gathering some receipts and the purchase that he had purchased a while back, whatever it was. And then he was asking for my bus pass. So then at that time, I told him no. I said, I don't want to, I'm not going to, you don't trust me. You don't trust me. That's what he's coming out saying. And I'm like, okay. I'm hoping that the conversation will end. Just out of nowhere, he comes out and he says, you got to go.
Okay, so what happened?
I left. I tried to pack up everything. He got mad when I was trying to get everything gathered up. I wasn't saying anything to him. I did say, do you have the rest of the money that you owe me so I could take the cab home? And then sure enough, he got madder and started pushing me, shoving me with his chest at me. And then as I was gathering everything, that's when he pushed me against the wall, and the wall cracked behind me in the dining room, yes. And then I stepped back after I got pushed, and I waited for him. He just kept calling B word to me with a disgusting look, scary look, I might add, and just kept saying it. Yes, I was really frightened, and I just stepped out, and I'm against the wall, and that's when he pushed me again, trying to take my cell phone. The second time, he got it, and then he threw it as I was trying to call the police.
What'd you call the police for?
Because of the abuse that he was doing. He was pushing me and hurting me. He didn't have no right to put his hands on me at all.
Okay, and I'm waiting for you. Let's hear.
First of all, Your Honor, everything she just said, she's lying.
Just tell me your version of the events, Mr. Burton.
Your Honor, she called me on a Saturday. She said she was preparing a roast and a dinner. And I said, why don't you bring everything over to my house, and then I'll finish preparing it, and then, we can have dinner over my house. So she came over my house, and I finished preparing the meal, and then she asked me to pour her a glass of wine. I poured her a glass of wine. Then all of a sudden, she started acting funny because I think she takes sight meds or something, because you can't drink on sight meds. But anyway, Your Honor, she just started talking, ramming on top of her head, just started acting crazy.
Like what?
I mean, started talking. She didn't make no sense whatsoever. Like, you a punk, you this, you ain't a man, you this and you that. And she kept talking loud. It was 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I told her, stop talking loud in my house because you disturbing my neighbors. And she kept talking loud. And then I walked over to her and put my hand over her mouth. This is the physical abuse she was saying. So I said, maybe if I just walk away from her, maybe she'll stop. And so I went into the restroom, Your Honor, you know, and I went in the restroom and used the restroom and washed my hand. I heard a scream. And so I came back out, and Your Honor, she told me, I said, what are you screaming for? She told me she had saw a leprechaun run through the living room. I went over there, I said, you got to go. So she went over there and got her stuff, and she kept saying, hit me, hit me. She was doing that, hit me, hit me, hit me. You know, hit me, hit me, hit me. I didn't know what was going on, Your Honor. I thought she was finna turn into a chicken or something. Then she started yelling rape. And I ran to my bedroom and got my shoes. I said, you got to go. You got to get out of my house. And she started yelling rape outside, so I grabbed the cell phone and I threw it in the bushes. Because, you know, I'm not finna get set up for something I didn't do.
And you say in your answer, sir, that you called her on the cell phone the next day.
Okay, I had got her out of my house. She called me about 5 minutes later from a payphone. She said, Clint, she said, I can't find my cell phone. I need a way home. Could you please help me get a way home and help me find my cell phone? Your Honor, I watch cops. You know, I know there's no way that she was going to get me outside. I know the cops was already outside. So what I did, I cut off all my lights and everything and went to bed. When I went to bed, next thing you know, the cops was outside my window, bright light, and banging on the door. The next day,
So you didn't answer the door?
Huh? No, I never answered the door because she wasn't finna set me up for something I didn't do. So, Your Honor, the next day I put star 67. That's blocking the number out, and called her cell phone, and she answered the cell phone. So that let me know that she found the cell phone. Not only this, Your Honor, this young lady is on at least three or four chat lines and the internet. This lady is looking for victims on the chat lines and the internet to sue.
Gosh.
She done told me about at least 3 lawsuits she done had.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hurst, you called the police?
I did call the police after
Did you
trying.
file a report?
Yes, I did.
Can I see a copy of the report?
It's all the lies she done told.
Did I let you speak? Was I polite to you?
Yes, you were.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that?
Do I look like a telephone technician to you?
And later today,
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's gonna make a fool out of you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Hurst says ex-boyfriend Clinton Burton Jr. assaulted her and destroyed her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Miss Hurst, police note the presence of alcohol when they saw you.
I let him know that we were drinking 2 to 3 glasses of house wine that I had brought over to his house.
It's about 10 glasses.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. How many bottles of wine did she bring over?
She brought a big jug of...
Shh.
She bought a big jug of St. Carlos wine, and the whole jug was finished.
Okay. You drank a lot that evening.
No, we didn't. We drank 2 or 3, and as the police report says, I was very calm.
You got to be calm to lie.
No, you're doing a lot of lying.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Hurst?
I don't. Customer service, cashiering.
She worked for the devil.
Mr. Burton, you don't want to lose this case. So far, you're not losing. You want to lose?
No, ma'am.
Then you have to not speak to her again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you get any sort of Social Security?
I don't get any of that, no.
Are you currently under the care of a psychiatrist?
No.
Do you currently take any medication?
No.
Okay. Mr. Burton, the police indicated that they found the cell phone that you had thrown out of your house.
Yes.
And they found it, and it was, in fact, broken. Is that the cell phone?
Yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. And here's the receipt that I just purchased with it, too.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, If that cell phone in pieces like that, how did I star 67 her number and made a phone call and she picked it up?
Mr. Burton,
if it's that broken?
Mr. Burton, listen to me, sir. Clearly, I mean, if I were to recap this evening, you both were probably feeling pretty fine because you'd both had a little bit to drink. She may have had a worse reaction to the alcohol than you. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't think that you injured her because she refused any medical treatment, and the police really don't indicate that there were any injuries other than a little scratch under her nose that I don't know how she got, because according to her, you just pushed her. But you do acknowledge, Mr. Burton, that you took her cell phone
And threw it.
and threw it. And the police, in their report, indicate that they found the cell phone in pieces. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so you have to pay for the cell phone. The cell phone was $180.
But what I'm saying, I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that? She done broke it the rest of the way.
Can I ask you a question, Mr.
Yes,
Burton?
ask me a question.
Do I look like a telephone technician to you? How do I...
I don't know.
How the heck do I know how you made a phone call to her? The police said the cell phone was broken. You have to pay for the new cell phone. You don't have to pay $5,000, which is what she's looking for.
Okay.
But $180 is what she paid for the phone. $180 is what you're going to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff, $180. Don't drink if you can't hold your liquor, Miss Hurst.
No,
That's all.
I wasn't
That's
drunk.
it.
Why is that
Bye-bye.
excused? You may step out.
Ever drink. Crazy lady.
He's the one on Prozac. He's the one he's the only one who has disability. I don't.
She's a total liar. She's on psych meds, and she knows she is. She get SSI, and she's crazy.
Maybe the Prozac turned him that way. I don't know.
Every time she drinks, she has obnoxious lies and steals out of my house.
All he did in the long run is just take advantage and made a spectacle out of himself, really, not for me.
If any mental hospital know this young lady, please come and get her, because she's on the loose.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Everhart. Step forward, please.
23-year-old factory worker Antoinette Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, homemaker LaTwana Everhart, for torching her car. LaTwana says it wasn't her.
This is the boyfriend.
Yeah,
Your current boyfriend. How many children do you have with him?
2,
How old are they?
5, and 1.
And how many years were you together?
Since I was in the 11th grade, that was 97.
And you had one child with him?
Yes.
And then he was such a good father, you went and had another one with him.
I guess so, yes.
Do you? Nah. Even you had a laugh when I said that, right?
Yes.
Does he have a job?
Not at this, well, at this moment, yes, he should have one.
What is his regular occupation?
Construction.
So he works on and off.
Yes.
And how much does he give you every week for the support of your 2 children?
Nothing.
A big, fat...
Zero.
Miss Eberhard,
Yes.
how long has Sir Lancelot been your boyfriend?
Well, it's be 2 years. We've been off and on since '96.
Off and on, so that you were off and on together. But didn't know about it, I assume.
That's correct.
Did you know he had 2 children when you were on and off with him?
I knew about 1.
I just wanted to get a little background because I read your case, and your case says that the defendant torched your car and destroyed it. She says she didn't do it. When was your car torched?
On May 18th,
And what makes you think that the defendant did it?
because we had confrontation between each other the same night.
What kind of confrontation?
We went to a formal friend party. I don't understand why he invited both of us.
Why, this other friend invited both of you?
Yeah.
What, because he's stupid?
So I didn't know she was coming. I guess she didn't know I was coming. Till I goes into the bathroom. She decided she gonna come too into the bathroom. So I told the friend, if she does come.
So you had a confrontation at this. So there's a little pushing and shoving, according to what I read.
No, we had no words. We just bumped shoulders.
Bump shoulder.
Right.
Fine. And that's what makes you think that she torched your car.
No, she had a little liquor, little friends, and a
Do you
little
have any,
courage.
let me put it to you this way, Miss Jones. Do you have any proof that she torched your car?
Only Jason's mother notarized statement. That's all I do have.
I don't read statements.
I know, but she had to stay home. It has details telling that Tawana smelled like gasoline.
Smelling from gasoline is some evidence, but even smelling from gasoline doesn't prove that you torched your car.
I mean, we had confrontation before then. We face to face, almost fist fighting. So she didn't like me from the get-go. So it was an easy alibi for her to
You don't
come.
want me to start on you, do you? You don't want me to start on you, do you? You know how he cheated on her and he's got 2 children with her?
Yeah.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in dry cleaners.
You work 5 days a week?
Yes.
Why do you have to think about that? If I said to somebody, do you work 5 days a week, they wouldn't have to think about it. Do you work 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay. You work 9 to 5?
10 to 6.
And you live with Sir Lancelot,
Yes.
who is employed on and off in construction. Is that right?
Yes.
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's going to make a fool out of you. And in a year or 2 or 3, you're going to be standing in a similar situation that she's standing in now. I don't know whether you torched her car or not. She doesn't have any proof that you torched her car. But I'm telling this to the 2 of you. The only thing that makes you look more foolish than devoting the best years of your life to a loser who doesn't pay child support, who cheats on you, who doesn't work regularly, is to be angry at each other. What are you angry at each other for? It's stupid. It's stupid. He's the bad guy. You're just, both of you are just dumb. Hang around him. Don't you understand that a man who fathers 2 children who he doesn't support is a loser?
But he does
Loser.
support his children.
Loser. Really? How
Tell
much
her
did
when
he
the
send?
last time he seen his kids.
I don't care when he saw them.
Last time he took care of them.
When was the last time he sent them money?
He doesn't send them money, but he buys them things. He doesn't send money to her.
Let me,
No.
just a second. Just a second. That's what he's supposed to do. Send money to the custodian of his children so that she can pay rent, food, insurance, medical care, shoes. Do you understand? That's what he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to buy Pampers and soy milk and say, I support my children. That's bull. Do you understand? Listen, Miss Jones, you don't have the case because you don't have any proof that you torched your car. So I have to dismiss your case. But forget about being mad at each other. That's the one.
I'm not mad at her.
Good, perfect.
Mad at
Happy
him.
to hear.
Not mad at
Happy to
her.
hear that you're all happy with each other.
Yeah, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Kamerman versus Beck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Mr. Cameraman, it is your claim that the defendants, both father and son, had you falsely arrested. You want to be reimbursed for that false arrest, bail money, attorney's fees, pain and suffering, aggravation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Beck and Master Beck say that they absolutely were within their rights to have you arrested because you did, in fact, put your hands on one of them and threaten the other. So that's what this case is about. How do you know each other?
I didn't know them prior to this. The way that we came in contact with each other is I was driving my car and going to my house to pick up some tools to do some work on some of my rental properties. And Master Beck was parked blocking the right-of-way.
How was he blocking the right?
He was parked in an alleyway. We live in Newport Beach, which is a very small beach community that has an alleyway to get to the homes.
Okay, so you have to drive through a common alleyway in order to get to all of the homes.
That's true.
Okay. What were you doing there, Stephen?
I was loading my surfboards on top. My car was still on, so I wasn't fully parked. But
Well, the car was stopped, wasn't it?
yeah, I was out standing on my tire. Oh,
When I want a whole story, I'll ask you.
okay.
Other than that, if you can answer me just the questions, 1 or 2 words will be enough. So the car was, in fact, stopped because you were loading something onto the car.
Yes.
So what happened?
First of all, I didn't observe any surfboards. I had motioned to him to move.
I mean, move and pull out of the driveway.
Yeah, just to get out of the way so I could get to where I
Well,
was
in order
going.
to pull out of the way, he had to go through the alleyway someplace else.
Yes, just pull in front of actually the home that he was in front of at the alleyway. He could have pulled into the street, and there was an area to park that he could have been fine there, or pull back where he wanted to. This is common.
Just a second.
Okay, sorry.
So you could have loaded your surfboards by pulling into where your house was.
Yes.
Okay. So he didn't move.
That's correct.
And what did you do?
I motioned to him to move. He acknowledged I was there and then walked around like, tough luck, I'm going to do as I please. So I thought, okay, I'll get out of the car and approach him. Maybe he'll realize that he needs to move.
I'm bigger than he is.
Yeah, a little bit. So I went up to him. I thought that would do it. That didn't do it. And so I said things like, do you need help to put the key in the ignition so you can turn the car on and move the car? And then his girlfriend started screaming at me.
The other girlfriend? What was she saying?
She was just screaming, leave him alone. You can't do, just unintelligible things.
Well, what were you doing to him, Mr. Cameraman?
I was actually doing nothing except saying, do you need somebody to show you how to? I was being facetious.
When I ask you to tell me what happened, it's not going to be one of, and then I said, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said, because I don't believe that. Do you understand?
I can understand that, yes, Your Honor.
So, let's backtrack a little bit. You got out of the car after Stephen over here was dissing you.
Yes.
Showing off for his girlfriend.
Exactly.
Because he's a kid.
Yes.
Certainly not doing the right thing, Stephen. When someone pulled up behind you in the car, the right thing to do was to have gotten in the car with your girlfriend and move the car out of the way so that that person could drive through the driveway. Do you understand?
Yeah, I say one thing?
Yeah.
I motioned him just 1 minute, just like you did, 1 minute, so I could buckle it, so I can move it. It takes 30 seconds, and it's no big deal.
Stephen, this whole thing didn't start because of 30 seconds, Stephen. If you live until you're 100, you're not going to be as smart as I am. It's just the way that God crafted you. There's a certain common sense to life. I understand it. I can't do certain things, but there's a certain common sense that I have. I'm not saying that he did the right thing, Mr. Cummins, because he's still going to give me, and then I said, and then he said. But I'm telling you that you did the wrong thing. Now, Mr. Cameraman, let's get back to and then I said. Go ahead.
I was yelling at him and trying to get him to move the car, and I was actually shocked to even know that anybody else was in the car, and then I heard her screaming, leave him alone, and then I realized since she was escalating everything, I decided I'm going to leave this alone and go back to my car. I went back to my car, turned the engine off, locked it, and proceeded to my house. As I got halfway across the street, Mr. Stephen Beck then decided to get into his vehicle and then move his vehicle to the spot that I said that he could move to that would work. So I realized he had done that. Then I went immediately back to my car and moved my car and put it in a legal parking spot near my house. At that point, I figured everything was over. I was loading things into my car. I made comments, they made comments about things. I yelled and said...
You mean that you were yelling at each other?
We were yelling at each other. Across the street, the girlfriend started saying, come on, hit us. We can have you thrown in jail. Come on, hit us. My mom's a lawyer. I can have you thrown in jail. And I said, well, yeah, I know that. I'm not going to touch anybody.
No, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that was a lie as well. I went back into my house, came back out, and they had called the police. And Stephen had made up a wild story that I had choked him and smashed him against the car.
Okay. So, and that's why you were arrested. You have a copy of the complaint?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
Oh, bird, there. You know that pesky fly that comes in here every once in a while? It's back. You sit down, Tony, for a second. Come up here. What's your name?
My name? Michelle Sabaris.
Michelle. Okay, Michelle. What did you see?
I saw this gentleman, or Stephen was putting his surfboards on top. He was standing on his tire, buckling his boards. Brett came around through the alley, drove in, parked right behind, and honked his horn. And Stephen gestured him 1 second, and then right away, I see him because I'm looking back out of the back. I'm in the passenger seat. He starts getting furious in his car. What I saw a gesture of the finger. Then he gets out of the car immediately, comes right up to Stephen, and their size is different, and I see he comes up to him viciously and goes like this.
Doesn't hit him.
Doesn't hit him, not right then. Next thing I know, I see Stephen against the side of the door, the back door, and Brett had his hands on his neck. And then he opened the door, tried pushing him in the car, was trying to get him so he could move his car. And then from there on...
And you're sitting in the passenger seat all this time?
Yes, and I'm in the passenger seat, and when I see him put his hands on his neck, that's when I start yelling, yes. And I got scared, and he wasn't a minor, but what I yelled, because I thought he was going to beat him up, I yelled, "Get your hands off him, he's a minor."
You mean if he was older, it would have been okay?
Well, no, but their size is considerable, and
He's always going to be that size, right?
Right.
Probably.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe you, because that's my job, because I've been doing this job for a very long time, because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry, I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while, maybe you'll get it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brett Kammerman says he was falsely arrested when Stephen Beck accused him of assault. Stephen says that during an argument, Brett choked him.
Anybody else witness this? Who are you?
I'm Patty Kammerman. I'm Brett's mother.
Where were you when this happened?
I was waiting across the street for Brett to come and pick up tools. And I never saw Brett touch him, push him, or
Well, what
do
did you
any of those
see?
things. I saw just what Brett had said, that he talked to him and he yelled at him, and everybody was very loud and yelling. And Brett went like this and got back in his car, turned the car off, came across the street.
And when you saw all of that, when you saw all of that yelling and all of that gesturing, did you stay in your house?
No, I wasn't in the house.
You just waited?
I was outside.
Did you come across the street to where they were?
No, I was.
Why not?
Because I didn't know what was going on. And I was just standing there.
Well, you're his mother. Maybe he was going to be in trouble. Maybe somebody's going to take a gun and hurt him.
No,
What?
I knew that there was no problem. This happens dozens of times during the summer, where somebody blocks the driveway, somebody else yells, everybody moves out of the way, and it's over with.
Have a seat, Ms. Cameron.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, she was inside the house at the time. She was not outside. I made sure of that because I looked for witnesses to witness it. I wanted witnesses.
Okay, your mother saw nothing. I don't believe her. I don't believe her. Okay, so then the police came and you were arrested. Even she knows she's not telling me the truth. Then the police came and you were arrested?
Yes.
Now, what happened with Tony Beck? Stand up, Mr. Beck. Go ahead. By the way, if there are no other witnesses, what are all you people doing here?
They're my character witnesses.
I don't need a character witnesses. I've determined you're a character. Go ahead.
After I was bailed out of jail, I went to Becky and Donnie's house.
Who's Becky and Donnie? Raise
Becky and
your
Donnie
hand.
are neighbors of mine.
Raise Becky and Donnie. And
Well,
Becky and Donnie
My
here?
grandchildren.
Your grandchildren.
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Okay.
And I talked with them, and they have bad blood on this side of the family. And they said, you know, if you would, please leave us out of it. We don't want to have to come to court. We already don't get along with them. And the dad, it's a situation where they didn't want to be involved, and so
Okay.
I didn't involve them.
You went down to talk to them. After you talked to them, what happened with Tony?
While I was talking to Becky, some man came running through the house and confronted me and said, "Keep your hands off my son." And I said, you know, you really should get your facts straight. Your son's lying to people about this. I didn't do anything, and I don't even know why I was taken to jail.
Okay. So nothing, according to you, nothing happened with Tony.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then Tony filed a temporary restraining order against me,
Well, that
lying to the authorities, saying that I had threatened him.
Not lying.
Now, why don't you tell me your version,
Thank you,
Mr. Beck, of the events?
I came through the house and I was off because the confrontation he had with my son. And the words I used when I came up to him is I said, "Why are you manhandling my son?" And he asked, who are you? And Becky says, "He's the father of Stephen." He said, "Get out of here. I don't like you. Get out of here." So and Becky asked me to leave. I left. As I was leaving, as far as his taunting, when I was leaving, just his character, he says, "What's your name?" I says, "Don knows my name." And he says, "Oh, don't even know your own name?" And this is the same type of antics that he used with the other kids in the neighborhood as far as taunting them.
Mr. Beck.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you file an application for a restraining order against
The
him?
restraining order was
what I'm
filed.
asking you, sir.
The restraining order was filed due to a phone call that he made to my father-in-law. He said he had the intentions
Just a second. Did you make a phone call to his father-in-law?
His father-in-law and I were very good friends. We both are real estate investors. We'd been friends for a long time. I wanted to call him and let him know that whatever stories are going around weren't...
Just a second. Do you have an affidavit from your relative?
Yes, ma'am. This is the report that my relative went down to the police
I'd like to see what the affidavit says from your relative, because that formed the basis of your application for a protective order. Well, I'd like to see it. This is the statement that is attributed to you, that the victim, whoever your relative is, came to the police front desk to report an annoying phone call he had received. The victim states that on this 20th of July, 2002, his grandson was battered by the suspect cameraman. The victim states that on the same day at approximately 16:30 hours, he received a call from Mr. Cameraman who said, "This is Brett. I know you know I am a martial arts expert. And just to let you know, I intend to sue the Beck family for false arrest. I want to assure you that to your grandchildren, I represent no harm or threat." That is the conversation that is attributed to you.
It's partially true.
Just a minute, what do you want?
I wanted to tell you that I was listening to the phone call.
I don't believe a word you say.
Why not?
Because I don't believe a word you say. I don't believe that you either went out and saw what was happening from outside your house, madam, or that you heard this conversation. I don't believe you. Because that's my job. Because I've been doing this job for a very long time. Because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. I don't believe that he is telling me exactly what happened with this young man. I believe that this gentleman so far had no cause to file for a restraining order against him. No cause. He had no cause. That's clear. But I don't believe your version of the events with Stephen. And therefore, I don't believe you saw what you say you saw. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry. I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while. Maybe you'll get it. My question to you, Mr. Cameraman, is what happened during this case when it was in court?
The situation that occurred is I was starting a new corporation.
Don't give me your whole story, Mr. Cameraman. I don't want to hear a whole story about you didn't want this whole thing to drag on.
That's the story. That's what I was going to tell you. If that's not something...
Listen, how come I read your mind?
Well, it was a donation that I made to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I've been here a long time, sir. I've been doing this job for a long time. What happened with the case, Mr. Cameraman?
I was told it takes a while for this to go, that there are going to be 4 or 5 pretrial hearings.
And? Keep going.
And I told my attorney that I was tired of this, that it didn't happen, that they are lying, and it's not fair that I have to deal with this for so long. Can you get it taken care of more quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And so
and
they
your
said...
attorney said to you, I can take care of it more quickly. This is what you're going to have to do.
If you make a donation to the Emergency Victims Fund, then they will let it go, because we have to give something to the DA so he feels like he won. And so at that time, I listened to the attorney and made the donation.
That was a mistake,
It was a mistake.
Because
and at the time, I asked
a $1,000 donation, whatever it is, whether it's in the form of restitution, whether it's in the form of, listen, I'm not going to be able to successfully meet these charges and I just want the whole thing over, whether it's in the form of, I'm too busy to continue with this, someone who feels as if they have been wrongly arrested, forced to post bail, handcuffed, et cetera, does not make a donation of $1,000 to make the charges go away, which is what you did. So you have no case.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's
you have
why
no case. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. So what do you want me to do? You made a mistake.
Okay, well, at the time, I had never been in a criminal situation. I listened to the criminal attorney. I will call him.
What do you want? What do you want me to do, Mr. Cameraman?
I'm telling you what the situation is, and what I'm asking you to do is that
you're an intelligent man, Mr. Cameraman.
Thank you.
You are an intelligent man. An intelligent man knows that when you pay money into the criminal justice system, it is almost a signal, at least it is some indication that you feel as if you are in some way wrong. That's the way it's interpreted, Mr.
I can understand your interpretation.
That's the way it's interpreted,
However,
sir.
that's not the case. And that's why I brought character witnesses.
I'm not interested in your character witnesses, sir, and I don't believe your mother. I believe that you overreacted to this young man, and I do believe that you put your hands on him. I don't believe that you hit him.
You believe that I put my hands on him?
Yes, I don't believe that you hit him. I don't believe that you hurt him. I believe that you lost your temper when he didn't move that car fast enough, and I think he was showing off for his girlfriend.
He was.
And I think that what he was doing was rude and inconsiderate, and he's 19 years old, and you're a lot older, and you should have cooled it, let it pass.
That's what I did.
And you didn't.
I did
and you didn't. He, of course, had no right to bring you to court for the restraining order because you had no grounds for a restraining order, Tony Beck. You behaved badly, sir. You can't act like a brat. When you act like a brat, things happen. Sometimes you're going to meet up with people who are bigger and stronger, and you can't anticipate what their mental state is going to be, so you have to be respectful of other people's time. You have to be respectful of other people's property. You want to load your car, you don't pull your car unless you absolutely have to in a place that inhibits somebody else from getting by. That's just being respectful. That doesn't give him license to overreact to you, because he could have done exactly what he did 5 minutes later, which is to pull his car into another spot, leave it, and go across the street to get his tools, or at least that's what he was trying to do, to go across the street to get his other tools. Anyway, you have no case, Mr. Cameron. You paid $1,000. $1,000 is some indication of guilt. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 199 on the calendar in the matter of Calderon versus Eagles. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have seats.
Ms. Calderon, it is your claim that the defendant had your son falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want all kinds of damages. Ms. Eagles says in her response that your son is a bad influence on her boy. She didn't want him in her home. He violated a direction by the police to stay out of her home. She had an absolute right to have him arrested for trespass because he was told to stay out of her home. That's your defense.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes. Which
boys are they?
My son Matthew.
Matthew. Step up. And which is your boy?
Devin.
Devin. I'm going to start with you, Miss Eagles.
Okay.
What's wrong with him?
Well, I do not like some of the things that Matthew does.
How do you know about these things?
Because my son has been hanging out with him for quite some time, and
Well, tell me about how long they've been hanging out together, and how do you know it's Matthew that's the cause of the trouble?
Well, they've been hanging around each other for, I'm going to say, approximately 4 years, 5 years.
Okay.
And I know that whenever Devin was around him, he would just turn into something that I could not control. He would be obnoxious to me.
You mean your son?
Yes. I knew that Matthew was involved with drugs, and I'm trying to keep my son from being involved in such garbage, and that's why I know.
How did you know that Matthew was involved with drugs?
Well, I know on one occasion, Kevin told me that Matthew had drugs.
Who's Kevin?
Kevin is right here.
Kevin, do you have a last name?
Blair.
Kevin, how do you know these people?
Devin's my friend. That's his mom, and that's Matt and his mom.
Well, I know who the players are.
Yeah.
I asked you how you knew them. Devin is your friend. What about Matthew?
Was my friend.
Did you ever tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was using drugs?
Yeah.
When did you tell her that?
I'm not exactly sure when. It was a while ago.
Give me a year. Was it this year?
Yeah, I think it was this year.
I want you to try yes.
Yes.
What kind of drugs did you tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was involved with?
Cocaine.
And how did you know that?
Because I've seen him with it before.
Look at me. Because you've seen him with it when?
Previous to that.
Did he sell it?
No, I just seen him with it.
Tell me about the time that you saw him with it. Look at me.
All right. We were...
You don't like my Jack Nicholson? Go ahead.
I don't know. I've seen him with it. I'm not exactly sure when.
Do you use drugs regularly?
No.
Do you use cocaine regularly?
No.
Do you ever use cocaine?
No.
Did you ever try cocaine?
No.
So it was really an unusual occurrence when you saw Matthew with cocaine, right?
Yes.
Then I want you to tell me when it was. Tell me the circumstances, because after you saw him with the cocaine one time, you told Mrs. Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, think. I want you to put on your thinking cap. Think. Oh, we may have to wait a while.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure when I remember seeing him have it.
I didn't ask you when. I asked you to tell me the story about it. Were you in school? Were you at home? Were you in the street? Were you at a party?
Oh, we were at a party.
Who was at the party?
Matt, me, Devin, a whole bunch of other people.
Fine. And tell me exactly what you saw Matthew do with the cocaine.
I seen him.
Look.
I seen him pull it out and play
How
with
was it packaged?
in a little bag.
He pulled it out of where? His pocket?
Yeah.
And what did he do with it?
He just looked at it. It was never, he didn't like pull it out of the bag or anything.
Did he say anything?
He was like, I got some Coke.
You didn't see him do anything with it?
No.
And then he put it back in his pocket?
Hmm.
And didn't use it during the course of the party?
Well, not that I remember seeing.
Now, when did you tell that to Mrs. Eagles?
I don't know, maybe a month or two.
Mrs. Eagles, tell me what he said to you when he told you about the cocaine.
He told me that he knew for a fact that Matt and another individual had it and that they had given Devin some.
Well, he didn't tell that to me just now.
Well,
he didn't tell that to me just now.
He said that he knew that they did the cocaine New Year's Eve.
It's not what he's saying now.
Well,
sit down. What grade are you in school, Devin?
9th.
Ever been suspended from school?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
For what?
Smoking and...
Smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
In school?
On school grounds.
Close enough. How old are you?
15.
How old were you when you got suspended for smoking?
15.
So it was a recent suspension.
Last year.
So once for smoking last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what did you get?
Fighting.
Fighting. When did you get suspended for fighting? You don't worry, I'm going to get to you in a minute.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Or last year.
I had, like, in-school suspension because of fighting last year.
And the year before that?
No.
Have you been suspended from school, either an in-school or an out-of-school suspension, more than twice?
I don't think so.
You know what?
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. Have you ever been arrested?
No.
Did you pass any or all of your subjects last year?
Yes.
How many did you pass?
4.
And how many did you have?
About 8.
So you passed about 50% of your classes last year, is that right?
Yep.
What are you doing this summer?
Well, I can't go to summer school.
Why?
Because I skip school too much. I have to repeat the grade.
So you have an attendance problem?
Yeah. Yes.
When you don't go to school, where do you go?
Stay at home.
Does your mother work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a medical transcriptionist.
You have brothers and sisters?
1 brother.
How old is your brother?
18.
Does he live in the home or out of the home?
In.
In the home.
Mhm.
What does he do?
Nothing.
So your mother has 2 children, she works full-time, and she's got 2 children who do nothing except make trouble. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Sure. You stay home from school, you do nothing. You get suspended from school, you do nothing. You pass half of your classes. You got an 18-year-old brother who does nothing.
Well, then, yes.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
On December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rieta Calderon says her son was falsely arrested when Sharon Eagles filed a complaint. Sharon says the boy was trespassing on her property.
Now turning over to this side of the table. How old are you, Matthew?
16.
Your last report card that you got, how many classes did you have?
5.
How many did you pass?
4.
What did you fail?
Math.
Were you in regular attendance in school last year?
Yes.
Ever been arrested?
Yes.
When?
When I was 15.
For what?
Someone had left a stolen bike at my house.
You were arrested because somebody else did something wrong.
Yeah, the case was dismissed though because they found.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything. What you're telling me is somebody else did something wrong. They arrested you.
Yes.
And that was your only arrest.
Yes.
Now, this business about cocaine. Have you ever tried cocaine?
No, I have not.
Have you ever touched cocaine?
No, I have not.
Mrs. Eagles doesn't like you. You know that?
Yes.
And I assume you've known that for a long time.
Yes, Sharon.
Did she ever tell you not to come to her house?
Yes, she has.
Before you were arrested, she told you not to come to her house.
Yes.
And she told you not to come to her house before you were arrested. Is that right?
Yes, Sharon.
Did you go to her house again?
No, I didn't.
You mean after she told you not to come to her house, you were not in her house again?
Correct.
When did she tell you not to come to her house?
Maybe about a month before I was arrested.
Give me the month.
Early December.
So far, is that correct?
I told him numerous times starting in September, maybe 2 years ago.
All right. But you knew he came to your house, and he came to your house invited by your son.
I did not know that he was going to my home.
Well, he didn't break into your house, madam. He came invited by your son, who was playing hooky from school.
I told him to stay away, and whether Devin let him in, I was at work, I had no way of knowing. But he was not allowed to go to my home at all.
When did you finally call the police?
I went over to the Juvenile Bureau on several occasions.
When did you finally call the police?
Then I finally called them in, I think it was November.
When was he arrested?
He was arrested in January.
Why in January?
Because on December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No. No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Devin, was Matthew in your home on December 31st?
Yes, he was. My mom came home early from work and caught me, Matt, and Kevin in there. We were at my house.
Is that right?
Before we were gonna.
She says you were there. Her son says you were there. And your old friend Kevin, although he didn't even have to think about it for a minute, says that you were there. And that's why you were arrested for trespass. Because that's your claim. Your claim is that Mrs. Eagles had your son falsely arrested for trespass, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, Your Honor.
She told him to stay out of her home. He went to her home.
Well, he wasn't at her home the day that she said that.
Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he wasn't there December 31st. I have 3 people who say that he was there.
Your Honor, I showed up in court 3 appearances with witnesses and documentation at the courtroom. If she had my son arrested for those charges, she should have showed up at the courtroom. She never did.
Showed up is not
But
the
I had
issue.
witnesses
We are not
to prove my son was not at her home.
I'll hear your witnesses.
I don't have them all with me. I have Michael with me. He did pick my son up at 5 o'clock. I was home from work that day at 3 o'clock. Michael picked my son up from our home at 5 o'clock that evening.
When did you see him at your home?
It was probably about 3:45 or 4, because I distinctly remember I was sick that day and I went home early. They don't expect me home until after 6 or...
So you cannot account for where he was at 4 o'clock. Is
He
that
was
right?
home with me, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
That is the truth.
I don't believe it. Listen, this is the problem, Miss Calderon. I believe that your son was told that he was not welcome in her home. If he was told that, and he acknowledges he was told that, he acknowledges that he was told that in early December, which means that any time after early December, he knew that the welcome mat was closed. This is not Devin's home. Devin merely lives there because his mother lets him live there. She owns the space there. Your son was there. I do not believe he wasn't there.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
Mrs. Eagle's not telling the truth right now, but on many occasions, we've known them for 4 years. My son and her son met in middle school. On many occasions, Mrs. Eagle would tell my son not to come to her house, or that she did not want the children hanging out together. Mrs. Eagles would then deliberately bring her son to my house, drop him off for days at a time.
Listen to me. That's okay. You have just acknowledged that she told your son not to come to her house.
Yes.
She could bring him to your house. You could say, I don't want him in my house. But once the owner of the premises says you are no longer welcome in my private residence, that's it. If you go there, you are trespassing. That's what she had him arrested for. But I have to tell you something. Just pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
It takes 2 to tango.
I understand that.
Okay. So that he's not the bad influence. Together, they're not good for each other.
I guess that's a better way of putting it.
Right. Now, as a parent, you say, listen, I got 2 bad kids. They're worse when they're married. So if I separate them, maybe I have a better chance of working with mine. So you have the right as a parent to say, I want to keep them separated. That's why I started with you. I don't want you to think that I believe that he is a bad influence on him. This one doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback. He told you one story, he told me a different story, okay? But you are entitled to say, in my home, I don't want to see your face. And if you've done it and you've been unsuccessful, then you go to the police and you have him arrested. Period, end of discussion, case over, goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm extremely upset that they could just go in there and stand in front of Judge Judy and lie
I didn't tell the truth, and they won by not telling the truth.
and say that he was not there.
She has lots of issues with her own children, so she blames everybody else's children for her son's problems.
My son's not an angel, but I just,
Caused a lot of trouble financially and everything.
I had no other recourse.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carpenter versus Young. Step forward, please.
Customer service manager Andrew Carpenter is suing his ex-girlfriend, clerk Rhonda Young, for the unpaid balance on a car loan. Rhonda says as soon as they broke up, the deal went sour.
Miss Young was your girlfriend. She came to you at some point and said she was having some financial difficulties. She fell behind in her car payments. According to you, you loaned her money, some $800 and change, to make 2 car payments. So far, correct?
Yes.
And she didn't pay you back any of that money.
No.
Then she was in more financial trouble, so you agreed to take out a second mortgage on your house
Yes.
and loan her enough money to pay off the car loan so she wouldn't have any more stress. And the agreement was she was going to pay you $200 a month for 5 years until her loan to you was satisfied. So far, right?
Yes.
Is that pretty accurate so far?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she pay the car off?
She sent a cashier's check on the 9th of December.
Okay, so in December. So her first payment was due in January.
Yes.
And according to you, she didn't make January's payment.
Yes.
She did make February and March, but not January.
Yes.
So on April 1st, you took back the car.
Yes.
And you still have the car.
Yes.
But you say you've had it appraised for what you could sell it for. And it comes up a little short of what she owes you if you went to sell it. So you want her to pay the difference now.
Yes. I gave her a piece of paper also stating that she could make payment arrangements and contact me on paying this difference amount, and she said, no, see you in court.
Well, at this point, she's correct, sir, because you don't have fixed damages. Let us say, under the scenario that you have just outlined, I find her in breach of that contract, which enables you to take back the car. Did you make January's payment?
At the time we were going to go on a ski trip, he told me not to worry about it. I went ahead and sent it. And I said, okay, are you sure? He goes, go ahead and do it like that. But, you know, I'm going to have you write me checks after that, send them to my house, and I will send it to the mortgage company. So I complied exactly what he wanted.
You didn't make January's payment. You made February and March. And
Yes,
when
ma'am.
did you break up, by the way?
The end of January.
And you didn't take the car back in February or March?
That is correct.
Not until April. So let us assume that I find that she breached the agreement by not making January's payment, and you had every right to take back the car. And your plan is to sell it, right?
Yes.
You have to do that. You have to sell it so that the damages that you have are fixed. How much did you loan her for the car?
$10,000.
And let's say you actually sell it and get $8,000 for the car, leaving $2,000 balance.
Yes.
And she has made 2 payments to you so far of $400.
Yes.
Which means she owes you $1,600.
What about the two car payments?
And the 2 car payments if I find that that was a loan,
She said she'd pay back.
along with this money, because you were her boyfriend. I'm not persuaded about these 2 car payments. But let's say you sell the car for $9,000. Say you find some sucker who's willing to give you an extra $1,000. That means that your damages are only $600. So when I say you don't have fixed damages yet, Mr. Carpenter, you haven't sold the car.
Correct.
Do we understand each other?
Yes.
So your action here is premature, and it is dismissed without prejudice until you go and sell the car. Got it?
Got it.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Bowden versus Lenore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Officer Bird, would you find out if this gentleman has a medical condition that requires him to have that thing around his head?
Looks like the answer is no.
Thank you very much. It is your claim that the defendant firebombed your car and also cut the wires to your satellite television all over some guy. The defendant says she did no such thing and you're really crazy. I assume this is somebody that you are either with or used to be with, is that right?
Used to be with.
And what's that person's name?
Deontay Crenshaw.
Deontay?
Uh-huh.
Is that person here today?
Mm-hmm. He's over there.
The person with the medical condition?
Yes.
When were you with this gentleman?
Up until she set the car on fire.
And when was that?
June 10th.
Of 2003?
Mm-hmm.
And is that the same date that your satellite dish wires were cut?
Yes.
Now, when was he your boyfriend?
He's always been my boyfriend. She was not with him. We lived together. We've been together since '98.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What do you do for a living?
Account rep at AT&T.
And you?
I lost my job due to her setting the car on fire because I wasn't able to go to work.
So you're not employed now?
No.
What does he do?
He works at Motel 6.
Doing what?
He's head of housekeeping.
What makes you think that she firebombed your car and did all of these other things to your house?
Okay, the car was set on fire Monday night. Sunday, she popped up on my front porch. I don't know how.
She came to your front porch?
Yes, I don't know how she got my address, but she popped up on my front porch. She was trying to plead her case about him and her or whatever.
So you spoke to her directly?
Yes.
That must have been June 9th.
No, you're right.
June 8th.
June 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right date, June 8th?
June 8th.
So June 8th she came to your house.
Mm-hmm.
And what did she say to you?
She never said her name. She said, I'm Deontay's baby mama.
I'm Deontay's baby's mama.
Yep, that's what she said.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
You're going to have it turned in
That's
a minute.
fine.
And why are you bothering with him?
Huh.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
And you said?
I said, okay, I have nothing to do with your relationship between you and him. We have our own thing, whatever, and that's that.
So that was June 8th?
Mm-hmm.
What happened on June 9th?
June 9th, she was calling, and so when I answered the phone, she said, put Deontay on the phone.
Okay, so she wanted to speak to Deontay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call her house?
No.
Okay, so
I personally went to her house Sunday.
He was at your house?
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night. So he
Mhm.
was sleeping there. Why were you sleeping at her house?
Because I was over her house, I was sleeping. I was over there.
Shh, I don't want to hear anything. Stand up. What were you doing over at her house instead of being at home with Miss Lenoir and your son?
I was over her house cheating.
Well, actually, I had put him out there Sunday.
Yeah, we wasn't together.
Yeah, so I had put him out Sunday.
Why did you put him out Sunday?
Because the phone calls started coming, and I kept telling him, you know, this female keeps calling my house saying she's sleeping with you. If I find out it's true, you know, I don't have any proof, so I'm going to leave it alone. Sunday, I received a call, I'm sleeping with your man. I took the number off caller ID. I called 411, got the address. I went to her house because my friend stayed down the street. And I told her, look, he's not going to be there anymore. No need for you to call me. I don't need him. I work such and such. I don't need a man to take care of me.
You especially don't need him.
Exactly. So after I confronted her, she said, me and him has this. And I said, well, you know, if you don't mind sleeping with somebody else's man, that's you. But he's no longer going to be with me. So
leave me alone.
Yeah, and I said, he can come live with you now. And that's what I told her.
Now I'd like to hear the proof that you have that the defendant firebombed your car.
I have pictures of the car.
I'll take a look at the pictures. The pictures are one thing. What proof do you have that she did it?
She also told me she did it also because she was calling my house.
That's not true.
She was calling my house.
No, she's not. I don't believe she told you she did it.
Exactly.
I have a witness right here, my next door neighbor.
Which witness do you have?
Eric. He didn't actually see her set the
Eric,
fire.
you want to stand up here?
Yes, ma'am.
Eric, in your shorts. You thought you were going to a basketball game today. Come up here. Move over there, Eric. Would you post photographs for me, please?
Sure.
Can I say something?
No, I want to hear Eric. And Eric, you're a neighbor?
Yes, I'm a neighbor.
And this firebombing happened in the middle of the night?
Well, on that day, I was doing some drywall for my brother. I do, drywall and lay. I was doing his house. It was like about 2:30 at night. When I happened to go in the back, I seen the young lady out there slicing the tires. So I'm just looking at it, and I'm figuring that it's probably just she ain't got mad at her boyfriend or something, and just cutting the tires. So I'm just standing up there looking at it. So she looked at me, I looked at her, and she went on back down the alley. So I proceeded to keep working. So I figured I was gonna go on there and just close up that night. So I went back on the front. I see her tan car parked across the street right there. And I'm just standing on the porch, and she kind of like looked and kind of sit in her car for a minute, and then she drove off, but I never seen her no more.
So you didn't see her firebomb the car?
No, I didn't see a firebomb come.
Good. Thank you. Sit down.
Your Honor, can I say something, please? Okay.
I'd like your next witness.
This is my roommate. She was there when she popped up on the front. I never called this woman's house or anything like that.
Is there something you're not understanding? I would like you to bring on a witness who saw her firebomb your car. You have anything to contribute to this case at all, or yes or no? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
Do it fast.
The morning the car that was on fire, my cousin, Lachey, came and woke me up, and I walked up on the back porch. I seen her and Deontay sitting on the back porch looking at the car. He apologizing to my cousin about how his baby mama set the car on fire and what she did or whatever, saying that he was going to help my cousin pay for the car and everything, which he didn't.
Is that right?
I told her I apologized for the car being burnt. What happened to her mama car?
Could you speak slowly so that I could understand this, please? You apologized to who for what?
I apologized to her for her mama car being burnt. I shouldn't apologize if it's supposed to be all over me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Possible somebody else could have firebombed your car. I don't know how many people he was with. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
No.
And later today,
It's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something, please? The Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
Very good.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lachey Bowden says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Teresa Lenore, firebombed her car.
Is he still living with you?
Not really, no. He keeps our son every day. He comes to my house and keeps him every day while I'm at work.
When does he work?
He works at night and on weekends.
So then, it wasn't true when you said to her that he's not going to be at your house anymore, don't bother to come over, because he is there every day.
Well, not living. That's what I was trying to tell her. You don't have to call to see if he's there, you know.
Where does he live?
At his mom.
So is what you're telling me, you don't have an intimate relationship anymore?
Not anymore, no.
Is that right?
Correct.
Well, Deontay has to be with somebody. And I don't know how many people he was with. He could have been with her. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
No. It's possible somebody else could have firebombed your car.
No, it was only her. She kept calling and everything. She called my house when he comes to her house. After he leave my house, he goes to her house. She calls me tomorrow, Deontay is here. Then she was hollering him in the background stating, you made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. You made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. She wouldn't have said it if she wouldn't have done it.
Your Honor, can I speak, please?
Yes.
She's lying. There's no way. If I'm going to do something, which is so stupid, I wouldn't tell her that I've done it.
Ms. Lenore, you appear to be an intelligent young woman. The only unintelligent thing that I know about you is him. I don't understand why someone who holds a responsible position, maintains themselves, takes care of their children, why they would do something so crazy as to commit arson, which is really what this is. Because what you're accusing her of is really a criminal act. And I assume you filed a police report.
I have copies.
I would like to see the police report that you filed and their follow-up.
And also, it's my mother's car, and she's still paying on that car.
Stand up here. You. Sit down. You, up here. How long have you known the plaintiff?
Well, I don't really know her.
You knew her enough to come to court with her, is that
Yeah,
right?
somebody told me that she wanted to, talk to me.
Okay. And when did you tell somebody for the first time that you had witnessed somebody slashing her tires?
She had came to me and said, asked me what was my name and stuff like this. I need to talk to you. I'm like,
When?
It was the next day.
Well, this police report is interesting because the police report said that they canvassed the entire area for suspects and witnesses to no avail.
He doesn't live at the apartment next door. He works on
You
the
don't have
apartment
to
next
live
door.
there. You call the police and you say, I have a witness.
Right. I didn't know he said anything when I called the police.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Go ahead.
We went to the police department and they said this so-called witness that you say you have, if he's not, you know, a good witness, you all are going to get in trouble for falsifying information. They asked for proof of what she harassing me. She told them I was doing all these things to her. She had no proof. They listened to my answer machine, which I tried to save. It erases after 15 days. They heard all of these threats on my answer machine from her. That day, she was held at jail. They released me. They said she had no proof. I would not do it.
Well, I don't believe that there's sufficient proof to establish to my satisfaction, in any event, the allegations that you make against the defendant, that she firebombed your car, that she cut the wires on your satellite dish. It's possible that she did it. It's also possible that he's got a string of girlfriends that you know absolutely nothing about, who are just as annoyed as she was. In any event, you sound to me, Madam Miss Lenore, as if you deserve better. I don't know if you're going to look for better, but it sounds to me like you deserve somebody who is at least prepared to act responsibly. That's not him. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she got it basically where she deserved, which was nothing. I didn't do it, and I'm just glad it's over with.
This is not going to end. This is not going to end. She started harassing me about this man. There's a problem. There's something wrong with her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Neill versus Turner. Step forward, please.
22-year-old warehouse worker Larry O'Neill is suing his former pastor, Bishop Kendrick Turner, for the return of his music equipment. Kendrick says Larry donated the items to the church.
Mr. O'Neill, according to what I read in your complaint, you joined the defendant's church. What kind of church was that?
It was Joe's Outreach Temple.
And did they have a formal place in which they worshipped?
Yes, they worshipped in a building, and then they moved into their house.
You mean their house where they lived?
Yes.
And you had some musical equipment
Yes, ma'am.
that you used and allowed the church to use.
Yes, ma'am.
When you decided to leave the church, you wanted your equipment back, and it's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment. Mr. Turner says that you made a donation to the church, and you can't have it back. What brought you to the defendant's church?
He told me that he was helping people out with music, to do music, gospel music, and I was doing gospel music at the time, and I decided to join his church for him to help me get my music put out, and he told me that he would help me with my music career.
So he's a preacher and an entrepreneur. Do you help people with their music career, sir?
I'm not going to say entrepreneur, but what I do is I help a lot of local gospel artists get out there.
When you say get out there, you mean get out there and
yes,
earn money?
Yes, ma'am.
Being sort of like an agent?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the equipment from, Mr. Turner?
From his house, because he said that the Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
Okay. Now, when did he say that, sir?
It was 2003. It had to be in January, ma'am.
Are you a non-for-profit organization?
Yes, we are. We're tax exempt. And
as of when?
As of when, I do not have that.
Give me a year.
It was last year, 2002, when the church started.
And you operate this church out of the house where you live?
Ma'am, we originally...
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a house is it? What are you looking it up for? You live there.
I'm not sure about the size, ma'am.
How many bedrooms does it have?
We have 2 bedrooms, yes, ma'am.
And the church operates out of what room?
Out of the front room, ma'am.
Now, where do you do your agenting?
What I do is I normally run ads and stuff in the paper, and I allow people to come to my home.
So you do both your agenting work, sir, and your ministry work out of the front room in your house, in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
2-bedroom house?
Yes, ma'am.
When was it that Mr. O'Neill made the donation? January of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was it that Mr. O'Neill...
It wasn't January.
Well, step up and tell me what date it was. You're his wife, so you probably have a better memory.
It was, because I keep the records, it was January when he came into the ministry, but it was around April. It was a couple of months after that.
So it was April that he made the donation?
Right.
Thank you.
Around the end
Sit
of
down.
March.
And when was it, Mr. Turner, that Mr. O'Neill asked for his property back?
It was just recently ago.
So that would have been about a month later.
Yes, ma'am.
1 month later, he asked for it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why, Mr. O'Neill, did you ask for your equipment back, sir?
Because it belongs to me.
And you were no longer interested in being part of the ministry?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. O'Neill?
22 years old.
Have you ever been under psychiatric care?
I have supposed to been going for medical treatment.
What kind of medical treatment, Mr. O'Neill?
For a psychiatric problem.
Are you currently taking any medication?
No, ma'am.
How you doing? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty fine.
Are you living with your parents?
I'm about to start. I just moved out on my own, and my parents, I think they want me to stay with them, so I might stay back home with
Okay.
them.
You're his father? Yes. Would you step up here for a second, Mr. O'Neill?
Baby, come here.
Who purchased this musical equipment for him?
Well, we all purchased it together, but it was his equipment. And actually, when it left my home, I had no knowledge that it left.
When are you planning on having your son come home to live
He's
with
been
you?
home for the last 3 weeks right now. I have an appointment for him for psychiatric help on the 10th of this month.
Okay.
And I have him close to home.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Turner, I want you to listen to me very, very carefully,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
3 days from today, Mr. O'Neill and his son are coming to pick up all of his musical equipment. You will have it all ready for them. Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am. I have no problem with that, ma'am.
Very good. I am not suggesting that you took advantage of Mr. O'Neill, and certainly someone who is a minister would not want to take advantage of someone who was not necessarily in a psychological position to make a gift. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Can I say something, please? Because I think I do not have the right to give that back, because he said the Lord. He said that the Lord said. You know, I take that very seriously when somebody said the Lord said. You know,
I want you to take this more seriously, Mr. Turner. I say that you're supposed to return it 3 days from today. Do we understand each other?
I have no problem.
Good.
with that.
That's all.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Skinner versus Wilson. Good,
Thank
Judge.
you.
How you doing? Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Skinner, you hired the defendant's daughter to house sit for you. You were going away on vacation?
A 3-day weekend.
And it is your claim that while the defendant's daughter was there, some items were stolen from your house, totaling almost $5,000. And also that the defendant's daughter threw a party, used your car without your permission, but primarily the car wasn't damaged or destroyed. Primarily you just want the value of the items that were stolen. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Because she's a minor. How old are you?
I'm 17 now.
Why don't you stand up next to your mother? Maybe 17, but you're taller than your mom. So why don't you tell me how you found this young lady to house sit for you?
Well, we worked together, and I felt since I worked with her, I could trust her daughter that nothing would happen to my house while we were gone for a few days. So we made the arrangement, and I paid them $40.
Who did you make the arrangement with?
Both of them.
Well, tell me where that took place, when it took place, when did you go away?
Okay. I made the arrangement partially with Natasha at work, and then they all came over to the house, and we went through where all the medicine for the animals were and how they were to be taken care of.
You mean Miss Wilson brought her daughter over to your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you met her daughter before?
Yes, ma'am.
And when she brought her over to the house, it wasn't agreed upon that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there to house sit, only her daughter?
It was also agreed that on one particular night, Natasha and her husband was going to come over, and they were going to be at the house, watch movies with the girls, and that they would be supervised at all times.
What do you mean they would be supervised at all times?
She would be watching the house and checking on them, because she would be going to the house twice a day.
So is what you're telling me, Miss Skinner, that you made arrangements with Miss Wilson that her daughter was going to sleep at the house and take care of your animals?
Correct.
How many animals do you have?
3.
But that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there twice a day and was also going to spend one night at the house with her husband.
Actually, what it was is she was going to be there twice a day to check on it, because she was going to pick Christina up, take her to work in the morning, leave her son there to stay at the house during the day. Then when Christina got off, she would take Christina back to the house, pick up her son so the house would never be empty.
So she was just doing a chauffeuring service. She wasn't going there to check on the house. She was going to drop off and pick up her children who were house sitting.
Right.
All right, well, that's different.
Well.
And you may have felt comfortable that she was going to be there, but that wasn't twice a day checking on the house, Miss Skinner.
Okay.
Right?
I felt as a friend she was going to do that, yes.
And that's a favor. But That's not what she was doing. She said, I'll make sure the house is covered with my children so it won't be vacant. Okay, what day did you leave?
Friday,
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
What was your arrangement with Christina with regard to friends?
We had agreed so that she wouldn't be alone since she didn't know the area, that one friend could stay with her at night. That way she wouldn't be alone in a neighborhood she didn't know.
Good. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have more than one friend over?
Yes.
How many friends did you have over, Christina?
A total of 3.
Including you?
No, without me. I was the 4th.
And what were these friends doing at your house?
It was my best friend, one of my best friends, Brandy's birthday. So we picked her up and we were just sitting there watching TV and just talking. And
so there were 4 of you all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have a copy of the police report, a copy of citations that she was issued in my car at 4:15 in the morning in Arlington.
What were you doing in her car, Christina?
I had taken it to drive back to Arlington to pick up friends, and that was the time when I was taking Brandy and Courtney back home.
What were you doing riding in her car?
I used it to go pick up friends.
Well, you weren't allowed to do that, right?
Right.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
May I say something?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, before we even agreed to this, she knew my daughter did not have a license to drive. And prior to that, I had asked her, whatever you do, please do not let her have the key. We've talked about this at work, and we talked about it again once we made it to her house for everybody to meet. I didn't know until after all these happened that she had given my child the keys to her car, in case of emergency, mind you, which I understand. But she's 16. She knew.
Just a second. You gave her the keys to your car?
We left the keys at the house because they had the house keys and the car keys. In case of emergency, if the house was on fire, the car needed to be moved.
I told her I was 15 minutes away.
They were
Just a second,
on
Miss
the
Wilson.
kitchen table.
Miss Wilson.
I know.
You're not suggesting to me that it's their fault that your daughter took the car.
No, but...
Good! I didn't think you were.
No, wait a second.
I didn't
But they
think
should have known better, though. She knew she didn't have a key. She didn't have a driver's license.
Miss
She
Wilson
barely
and-
knew how to drive. She
Miss
was
Wilson,
16.
Do you see my mouth moving?
Your Honor?
Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that items may have turned up missing in that house may have absolutely nothing to do with you. However, don't even suggest to me that you think in some warped way that it's her fault that your daughter got behind the wheel of a car and drove her friends around at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't tell me it's somebody else's fault that she did the wrong thing. Just pay attention. Pay attention. It's not somebody else's fault. It's her fault. It may not be your fault, but it's her fault, not
She
hers.
helped create the situation by giving her the key. She's 16. Who's the adult? Her or her? She should have known better. If I had somebody watching my house, I already know the story. She doesn't have a driver's license. It's 2 teenagers.
Just a
I am
second.
not
You
going
see
to
this
hand her
table?
the key.
You see this table?
Got it.
Do you remember the title of my second book?
Beauty Fades, Dumb as Forever.
That's the title. You don't get it. It's not her fault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda and George Skinner are suing Natasha Wilson for the cost of 7 rifles. The Skinners claim the guns were stolen while Natasha's daughter was watching the house.
Let's say she didn't hand her the car keys and the house keys all on one ring, but your daughter went into her dresser drawer and found the keys. You would be standing there saying to me, she should have taken her keys with her. She's a 16-year-old girl. You can't expect a 16-year-old girl to be responsible enough not to succumb to temptation and use a car. That's really what you're saying to me, right?
I think
is that what you're saying? Just answer me yes or no. I don't need a whole
Yes.
speech from you. Okay. Well, then if that's what you thought, you shouldn't have said that your daughter was responsible enough to stay in her home and be paid. Because if someone can't be trusted, I don't care if they're 10 or 12 or 14 or 16, they can't be trusted. So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me? Is that the way you were brought up? Well,
No,
that's
ma'am,
unfortunate.
I was not brought up that way.
That's unfortunate. If you don't trust your daughter not to do the right thing, then you should not say to these people, my daughter is responsible enough to stay in your home. Because the car is one thing, but there are other things in the home. There were 3 animals there, and if she's not responsible enough not to use a car that she's not been given permission to use, she's not responsible enough to make sure that 3 animals are taken care of. So that if you had some idea that your daughter was irresponsible, you should have told her, I'm sorry, my 16-year-old daughter is not responsible. I will not allow her to stay in your home. You didn't say that. You led her to believe your daughter was responsible enough to oversee.
But there were conditions to that, though.
I'm speaking, was responsible enough to oversee her home and her dogs. That still doesn't make you liable. All I'm doing now is giving you a hard time because you don't get it through your head that it's not her fault, but her fault. We understand each other? Good. Now we understand each other. Now, you also found that other items were missing.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Items are missing, such as some rifles.
Yes, ma'am.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
She's not responsible. She's responsible, but she's a minor.
Correct.
You have the ability to select someone responsible to take care of your home. And if you selected her, and if something happened in your home, you can't say her parents are responsible. You can't.
I would just like to for you to see this, to give you an idea that how long she had somebody in our home.
I don't care. She knew she did the wrong thing. This isn't somebody who's saying to me, I thought I could use it, that it was okay. She knew she did the wrong thing. Only her mother's making excuses. But her mother is not responsible for what she stole, or her friend stole, or somebody else took from the house when she left the house open, when she took her friends home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Her mother's not responsible. And under the law, you can't collect any money from her. So what you have to do, and what everybody has to do, if they decide to leave their home and entrust their home to somebody, you make sure that person is not a minor. So if things come up missing, you have somebody to sue. But you can't say, listen, I have to blame somebody. You have to blame yourself. She's a teenager, and when you leave teenagers in a house, unsupervised, 24 hours a day, trouble happens. I remember leaving my teenage children in a house, and we were just gone for an overnight, and these were not babies, and getting a call that there was a huge party. What kind of party? 35 people in a party. You don't do that. When you leave teenagers in a house, you never know what happens. When they have an empty house, it's party time. You know, the word goes out over the waves. Now they goes over internet. Party time. Bottom line is, you didn't hire her, nor did you pay her. The only arrangement that you had with Miss Wilson was she was going to drop off and pick up her children so that the house would be covered all the time by her children. You have a responsibility to select the right people to take care of your house. If you don't blame somebody else.
Actually, I paid Natasha.
Did you pay her to give to her children? Or did you just give her the money?
I gave her the money to do...
Ms. Skinner, you're pressing it. She was not in charge of your house. Her 16-year-old daughter was in charge of your house. That's who you left in charge of your home.
Yes.
And if you chose to do that, and if she did the wrong thing, her mother is not responsible. You can't sue her. And she's not legally responsible. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel like because she had given her the key, she was able to get in that car, go pick up her friends, and have a little get-together.
Till today, they never admitted that they even left the house or that there was anybody else there besides the 2 girls.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carroll versus Lampron, step forward, please.
23-year-old sales manager Jeff Carroll is suing ultrasound technician Paula Lampron for damage to his car after he ran over her dog. Paula claims Jeff was speeding. She is countersuing for the death of her pet.
Mr. Carroll, you were driving your car down the street, and it is your claim that the defendant's dog, which was unleashed, slammed into your car, causing damage. Ms. Lampron said that you were speeding. You had to have been speeding down the street. I'm not sure whether you saw him. Is that right?
I didn't see him.
Didn't see him. But you had to have been speeding down the street when you hit her dog, and as a result of that, her dog was killed. I think the dog had to be put to sleep.
Yes, it did.
And you are counterclaiming for the value of the dog.
And the vet bill.
And the vet bills. Okay. Mr. Carroll, describe this street to me. Tell me what it looks like. Is it a highway? Is it a 2-lane street, 4-lane street?
It's a 2-lane street. It's very narrow. It's a residential area.
30 miles an hour is the posted speed limit.
What happened?
I was proceeding at the speed limit, 30 miles an hour down the road, when all of a sudden a loud crash to the passenger side. I looked in my mirrors, I didn't see anything. I pulled over, saw that it was a dog. I was in severe trauma. I saw Paula. She asked me to help. I said, sure. We helped get the dog into the truck.
Into whose truck?
Into the back of her truck. The dog
What kind of a dog was this?
A golden retriever. We got the dog loaded up, and she proceeded to the animal hospital.
And what happened to the animal hospital?
When the veterinarian helped me get it out of the truck, he said the injury was extremely severe, and he would do anything he could to save her. He called me and told me that there'd be no chance of her recovery, and she was
What
in
was she
severe
doing without a
pain.
leash, Miss Lampron?
I have 2 golden retrievers, mother and son. That was the mother. And I was just leaving my house to do errands. Both dogs were sitting by the side of my truck, waiting to get in.
Unleashed?
Yes, but on my property.
But unleashed?
Yes. And they don't run. They're under my control. However, the female dog is very obsessed with her ball, and she had a ball in her mouth. The ball dropped out, and she ran to the end of the driveway to catch it, to get her ball. And it just happened in a split second.
Well, the end of your driveway is not where this happened. He wasn't driving in your driveway.
No, he wasn't driving in my driveway,
Right,
but he
so
was driving
the
very
ball-
close to the road, and I have pictures of the end of my driveway where my dog was. My dog was not out in the middle of the street, Your Honor.
He didn't say it was out in the middle of the street. The dog hit his car as it was coming down the street. Can I see the photographs of the damage to your car?
Actually, photographs of her property as well with it.
What kind of car is this, sir?
It's a Toyota Supra,
What year?
1993,
What's your deductible?
$500.
You still have the car?
No, I do not, actually.
Why not?
I sold it.
When?
Actually, 3 days before I came here, I just got all the bodywork finished. And
You have the paid bill?
no, the deductible covered. I mean, my insurance covered it. You know, basically.
You have the name of the place where you took your car to be fixed?
Custom imports.
You have your insurance paperwork?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. How much did you sell the car for?
$20,000.
$20,000?
They don't make the car anymore. It's it had a lot of additions to the car. It wasn't stock.
When did you purchase the car?
2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for the car?
$17,000.
So you made $3,000 on the car.
Not really. I put a lot more into it over the 2 years.
This is an estimate, is that right?
No, that's what I got from my insurance company.
Okay. Custom imports.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you took the car to be fixed?
Yes.
You know anybody who works there?
Yep. Tori is who I deal with.
And in what month did you have this car fixed?
It was April.
What made you wait from January to April?
I had to save some money.
And so you actually paid the $500 deductible?
Yes, I did.
And who did you pay that to?
To the custom imports.
And how did you pay them?
Cash.
Really? You gave them cash? You have a receipt from them that you gave them $500 in cash?
No, I did not.
Why not? Didn't they give you a receipt when you paid the bill?
Not really. It's kind of a friend who did it.
You understand where I'm going with you, sir?
Yes.
You got my drift?
Yes.
Perfect. As long as we understand each other. You know what my father used to say?
You want me to grab one out of the air? What he used to say?
He used to say to me, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Your dog hit his car. Your dog was off the leash. It's your fault. That's it. Unless you can establish to my satisfaction, which you can't because you didn't see him, that he was exceeding the speed limit and that is the reason that this happened. And it really isn't. But the reason it happened is that your dog was off the leash. Because your dog hit his car, the side of his car, according to this. I see some damage in the picture that he handed me that had nothing to do with the dog. Mm-hmm. Certainly, Bird, this doesn't look like it had anything to do with the dog, right?
No.
Right? The dent, maybe, but not this part.
Right.
Right. So, you understand, you have no claim, no legitimate claim against the plaintiff. And since the plaintiff, even if I believed what he said about taking it to his friend Tori at this place, who's a good friend who took care of the car for him, and he actually paid him $500 in cash for which he has no receipt, I find that he made $3,000 on the car, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all he's going to make. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. That's case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Ransom versus McCaffrey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Ransom, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for work that you did in his landscaping business?
Yes, you're right, Your Honor.
You were a day worker for him?
Yes, I was.
How long did you work for him? From when to
Total
when?
of 3 weeks.
And how much were you supposed to be paid?
I was supposed to be paid $9 an hour.
How much money do you claim he owes you?
He owes me for 39 hours plus $25 that he didn't pay me from the previous week.
Okay. Then you also say that when you tried to collect the money, Mr. McCaffrey called the house where you were living, and you're living in a clean and sober home environment?
Yes, I am.
You formerly had a drug or alcohol problem?
Yes, I did.
What kind of problem was it?
It was a cocaine problem, Your Honor, and at the time I felt that I needed help. I was clean and sober at the time that I did put myself into the program, and because I want to stay clean. And so,
how long had you been there?
I've been there now a total of 3.5 months.
How long were you there when you went to work for Mr. McCaffrey?
I was there for about a month and a half.
And it is your claim that when you tried to collect this money that you claim Mr. McCaffrey owes you, Mr. McCaffrey called the home where you were living and spoke to the director there and slandered you.
He did that.
Okay. Mr. McCaffrey says the following, that he paid you everything that he owed you, and he's kept a record of that, and that he never slandered you to anybody. Is that right, sir?
Your Honor, he is owed money. I have a check for his final pay.
Okay.
And I called to get an address to mail the check.
So that was the only phone call you made, just to get an address where to send the check, and you made no other statements to anyone about the plaintiff?
I did make a statement about the plaintiff to be aware that he, on the job, he had shown me photographs of a pornographic nature and asked me to be involved in matters which I didn't want to be involved in sexual nature. And
well, why don't you be more specific? He showed you photographs. Sir, what kind of photographs did he show you?
Nude photographs in compromising sexual positions of himself in various...
Of himself?
Yes.
With other people?
Yes, ma'am.
Men or women?
Women.
And what kind of a proposition did he make to you, sir, when he showed you these photographs?
Said, this is my portfolio if you're interested.
This is my portfolio if you're interested. What did you think he meant by that?
I presume that you wanted to involve me in things of a sexual nature, and I was not interested.
Well, these pictures didn't show Mr. Ransom with other men. It showed him with women.
Correct.
So what did you think he wanted you to do? He said, this is my portfolio if you're interested. I'm serious.
I'm absolutely serious, too. I don't know what his entire intent was, and he didn't explain that, but I know it's something I didn't want to get involved in.
Mr. Ransom.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever show him any photographs that were funny?
No, ma'am, I have not.
And you have a check for how much for him, Mr. McCaffrey?
I have a check for $25.
What about the 39 hours that he claims you owe him?
Some of those, I have a journal which I kept, and I did pay him in cash. I wanted to pay in check. He insisted on having cash. I did pay what cash I could. There are some days that he claimed that he worked that we didn't work because the dump wasn't open. I'm in dispute with his record keeping.
All right, let me see his record keeping. Let me see the records of when you say you worked, sir.
The dates are here, Your Honor. They're documented down here.
I see where he says he worked 12 hours on August 11th, 9 hours on August 10th, 9 hours on August.
I have flagged the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, which was a Sunday, and there's no dump open, and the 11th right here in my journal.
Okay. And that was the 11th was his last day of work?
No, I don't think so. It could have been the 12th, but he left early that day, and there was an argument that day, and he took the bus home. Left, right. The last record I have of a cash payment was on the 11th.
Well, if you listen to me, Mr. McCaffrey, you say you kept accurate records of these cash payments. Now you tell me that you had an argument with him on the 12th. The 11th couldn't have been his last day because you didn't pay him on the day that you had the argument with him when he left. So that couldn't have been the 11th because the 11th you said you paid him, according to your note to yourself, in cash.
I agree, absolutely. That's the last time, but I can't say for sure if the Tuesday was the last day or if there was a day lapse in between that because I don't have any entries after that.
So clearly there was several hours that he did work for you that are unaccounted for in your journal.
Right. There could
Well,
be.
how many hours? Was it 8 hours? Was it 7 hours?
No, he showed up in the morning and I showed up later with another fella and another friend of mine. This would have been about 10 or 11 o'clock. And I came to find there was a broken chainsaw on the job. I asked who did it, and that's where our argument ensued.
Okay. Mr. Ransom.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's move away from the hourly work that you say you're entitled to. I think that it's probably someplace in between. All right. Your primary accusation is for the slander that you say. Do you have any witnesses to this slander,
Yes,
sir?
yes, Your Honor. I do have the assistant directors here.
What's that person's name?
Carol Martinez.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes, she is the person that received the call.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said Mr. Ransom showed up under the influence of drugs. He brought drugs to work. He tried to get me involved in his drug lord thing, and he continued on and on.
And later today,
she did not stop at the stop sign. She accelerated the car, and the ball bounced up and hit the car window.
Noel, what you just gave me was a whole lot of Who Shot John.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cleve Ransom says his former employer, Kevin McCaffrey, is withholding his wages. Cleve also claims that Kevin slandered him to his counselor at a sober living house.
Ms. Martinez, did there come a time when you received a call from Mr. McCaffrey wanting to know the address of the home that you direct?
Yes, ma'am. I received a call on the morning of August 18th. The gentleman on the phone, at first he didn't identify himself. He asked me for the address to our facility. I then inquired to why do you need our address, because I not only have male clients, I have women clients there. He stated to me that he was Cleve Ransom's former boss and that he had mailed a check prior, the week prior, and Mr. Ransom claimed he never got it, and that he wanted to send a check to our facility for Mr. Ransom certified mail. So I gave him the address, and before I could hang up, he asked me, do you do room searches there? And I said, sir, why would you inquire about room searches? He said, well, Mr. Ransom brought sexual explicit pictures to work of all your female clients and all different sexual positions, and I wanted you to be aware that that is going on in your facility. I said, that is not going on in my facility, and we would never tolerate any sexual misconduct. And then he said, well, do you do drug testing? And I inquired again as to why would you ask me about drug testing? He said, well, Mr. Ransom showed up under the influence of drugs. He brought drugs to work. He tried to get me involved in his drug lord thing, and he continued on and on. I left my office with a cordless phone and walked out of my office. My office is there at the facility, and walked upstairs, and I rang Mr. Ransom's doorbell. And when he opened it, I pushed my speakerphone on the thing. He continued for about another minute and a half, telling me how he's a manipulator, a con artist, that he's not fit to be in society, that I need to be careful of what he's doing to our females. And so I ended the conversation. I then contacted the executive director, who was out of town, and I said to her, you know, I got this phone conversation. What do I do about it? She said that I needed to place Mr. Ransom on a 2-week total restriction to the facility, and that I needed to conduct a complete room search, drug testing. I needed to interview some of our long-term clients that have been there, our female clients that have been there for a while. So I did that. Mr. Ransom was placed on a total restriction. I conducted drug test, a random drug test on him, 6 to be exact, during that 2-week period. And I did a complete room search of his room 3 different occasions. I never found any photographs. He passed every single drug test, and Mr. Ransom never received anything certified mail from Mr. McCaffrey.
Do you want to respond further with regard to Ms. Martinez's statement about the extent of your conversation with her?
The validity of the statement, yes, it's false. It's primarily false. As far as going on for an hour and a half, I did
Shouldn't
warn.
say you went on for an hour.
Or a minute. I'm sorry, a minute and a half. And I did warn her of the pictures that he had brought to work and the nature of his activity at work, which I thought
Which was what?
was inappropriate. Pornographic photos.
I'm asking you, sir, about the drug testing.
Oh, drug testing. I have no clue what she's talking about drug testing, and I can respond.
Did you ever say to her that he's a lowlife and he shouldn't be in society?
Absolutely not.
Did he say that to you?
Yes, ma'am. And when I had it on speakerphone, and Mr. Ransom heard it also.
Mm-hmm. She says you made those statements. I don't see that she has any particular axe to grind, sir. I also question the validity of part of your defense, because you said to me that the reason you had an argument with the plaintiff was because you asked who broke a chainsaw. That resulted in an altercation with Mr. Ransom, and he left. That's what you said caused all the problems. Whereas in your sworn answer to his complaint, you say that the reason that he became angry is because you insisted on paying him by check and he wanted to be paid in cash, that he became abusive and walked off the job. So you couldn't even get your story straight between your answer and today. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $2,700. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Some of his work was very good. I was also satisfied with the fact that we were very friendly at one point. I did buy him 2 pair of boots. I did buy him lunches. I was as friendly as I could afford to be.
He actually wanted to get me booted out of the program from the beginning.
Why would you show someone pornographic photographs unless you're interested in getting him involved in that type of lifestyle, which I want no part of?
Went out the door when he started just yelling, "I'm not a kid, I'm old enough to be his father," and he don't respect that.
We all live with the consequences of what we do, and we all know what the real truth is in our lives.
Thank Judge Judy for justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Greenwood versus Crutchley. Step forward, please.
Philip and Heather Greenwood are suing Gary and Berland Crutchley and their daughter, 15-year-old Noelle. Heather claims Noelle damaged her car with a basketball.
Noelle, you were playing basketball with a friend, is that right?
Yes.
What's your friend's name?
Blair Cooney.
Is that this young lady right here?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you playing basketball?
At my friend Blair's house.
Tell me what happened. Tell me how it came about that the basketball that you had in your hands ended up breaking her car mirror.
Well, I was playing basketball with my friend Blair, and...
Now listen to me, before you start, Noelle, I want to tell you, I don't care what you've told your mother, I don't care what you've told your father, I don't care what you told your friends, okay? Now you're going to tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
So just forget anything that you told them in the past. Put it out of your mind.
Okay.
Now you're telling me.
Well, I was saying that I was playing basketball with my friend Blair, and I saw a car coming. So I thought I had time because there's a stop sign, and usually when there's a stop sign, you stop. So I shot the basket when the car is coming to the stop sign, but she did not stop at the stop sign. She proceeded, and then I went to the basket to get the ball after I shot it, but then instead of slowing down, she accelerated the car, and the ball hit the bottom of the curb and then bounced up and hit the car window. And then she stopped and got out of her car, and the first thing she said to me was, and slammed her door. And it really upset me when she said that, and she was yelling.
That's terrible. Quiet. Let me hear.
I was driving down the street not far from our house, and I came up to a stop sign, and I see Noelle and her friend playing about 100 feet from the stop sign. And I myself have a 2-year-old daughter in the car with me. And when I saw the girls, I stopped at the stop sign, noticed where they were at, and made my left-hand turn. And all of a sudden, this ball just comes crashing into my mirror, breaking the mirror. So I stop the car, put it in park, walk around the car, pick up the mirror, and I tell Noelle, I say, maybe you should be more careful about playing in the street.
Well, I'm sure that it was a little more angry than that. Right?
Well, when the ball hit my car.
Right?
Maybe a little bit.
Uh-huh. Okay. Noelle, what you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John. That means I don't believe you. How old are you?
I'm 15.
15. Do you babysit?
Not mostly, but sometimes I do, yes.
Well, good. You should start to babysit because your parents have to take care of this mirror. I mean, it's a mirror. It's not a big deal. What?
I'd just like to say that she, numerous amount of times, said that I kicked the ball at the car. And then when she got out of the car, and then when I got out of the car, it's one of those swivel mirrors, so it swiveled in when the ball hit it, and the mirror popped out. It did not break, it popped out. And when she got out of the car, she was jamming it in, trying to fix it, but she could have done more damage by jamming it in like that. And
So it was her fault?
No, I'm not.
Is that what you're telling me?
No.
It's her fault. What do you want to say, sir?
When children are playing in the street, wouldn't someone slow down to try and make sure that something like this didn't happen so that
Listen
the
to
kids
me.
weren't endangered?
Listen to me. Your daughter wasn't in danger. Your daughter wasn't in danger.
What happens if the ball hit the
Listen to
curb
me.
and bounced up?
What if? What if when I was born, my parents had been taller? I would have been taller. Don't give me a what if. What if is your 15-year-old daughter, who is almost as tall as you are, was playing ball with her friend and wasn't careful, and because she wasn't careful, the ball hit the plaintiff's car. Now, hit the plaintiff's car, and it could have spooked her. She had a 2-year-old in the car. She could have hit your daughter. She could have hit your daughter. I'm speaking! She could have hit your daughter's friend. But that's not what happened. You want to stand up? Stand up. See? No, sir, I'm not finished with you. See these two girls? See these two girls? They're both taller than I am. So they may be 15 years old, but they're not babies. Don't treat them like babies. Your daughter made a mistake. It's not a big mistake.
Well, that's the way I felt. It
It's
wasn't
not
a big mistake.
but she caused the damage. She's old enough to pay for it.
We never saw a bill. We never once saw anything that proved that this mirror was broken other than it fell off.
Just a second, Mr. Crutchley. When she first called you and you said you'd get back to her, did you then, you or your wife, tell her you lost her number?
No.
Who told you they lost your phone number? He did. And did you get right back to her?
No, I did not.
Is that acting responsibly, sir?
I didn't know what to do. I was trying to figure out what should be done. It wasn't clear cut to me. It wasn't black and white.
So
I
then
felt
why
she
don't you
should have-
say to her, it's really not clear cut to me?
That's what I said.
No, it's really not. Can we get together? You're a neighbor. You live close by. I mean, we live in the same neighborhood. Let's see what happened. Or did you just sort of put her off?
I put her off.
Right. That's why she got annoyed. Because you put her off. Because what you should have done, sir, put your hand down. Because you think your parents may believe this crap story that you gave them. I do not. I do not believe that she failed to stop at a stop sign. I do not believe that she saw you and accelerated trying to hit you. Believe me, she didn't want to hit you. She didn't want to damage her car. Now, can I see what it cost you to fix the car, please?
$33, I believe. These are the two receipts for the part and the installation.
$229.23, I believe, Your Honor.
Yeah, this is case number 356 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Peach. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Davis, according to what I read, you hired Mr. Peach to do some cement work at your house. And it is your claim that he was discharged by you for cause, and that when he left a whole pile of debris there, which caused you to fall, which caused you to injure yourself, and you want him to pay for all of your medical bills, your pain and suffering as a result of falling on your own property.
Yes.
Mr. Peach says that he was discharged for no reason. He's counterclaiming for breach of contract. So first I'd like to see the contract, and then I'd like to see a picture of your house.
Your Honor, I did not get a contract. I got an invoice. That's all I ever got. I never got the contract. I asked him for it repeatedly.
You have a copy of the contract, sir.
But I never got a contract.
So
I will give you what he gave me. I'm sorry.
Pictures?
Sure. Pictures.
All right. What were you supposed to do, Mr. Peach?
It started out that I was supposed to put in a concrete sidewalk, and it evolved from putting in a patio to grading to moving debris from her backyard to build a gravel type of thing to keep the water from coming into her backyard.
Okay. When did you first go there and give her an estimate?
Well, the first time she called us to come at 10 o'clock to give her an estimate. I arrived
10 o'clock on what date, sir?
the 16th of July. Well, when I got there, she says, you're a half hour early. and she scolded me for being a half hour early. I apologized that I was there early, and she showed me what was to be done.
Did you negotiate a price with her?
Yeah.
What was the price?
The initial price was $1,600 to put in the concrete.
So far, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
All right. What was the price that you...
$1,200 for 80 feet of sidewalk.
Now, Miss Davis, why didn't you get this quote from him, $1,200 for 80 feet of sidewalk, in a contract?
I repeatedly asked him for that, and I said, when you come back...
Not repeatedly. You didn't have to repeat it.
Well, that time, I asked him the first day.
Listen to me.
When I say repeat... Okay, I'm sorry.
He came on the 16th. He told you $1,200 for 80 feet. You said, when you come back with the materials, I accept your price. You bring me a contract. You bring me a proof of insurance. When did he come back?
He came back that afternoon.
Okay, what did he come back with?
He came back with a crew, one guy.
Well, a crew, that's a mini crew.
A mini crew. That's
a mini crew.
A mini crew. He
came back with a mini crew, one person, and he had materials.
No, he did not have materials.
What did he have?
He didn't have anything but himself and this one person, this one crew member.
So?
And Mr. Peach, where is the legal papers? And he said, I don't have them. I was at another site. I will get them for you this afternoon. And I said, I won't. He said, can we start the work? I will only allow you to start the work if I will get these papers. He said, I promise you. I want to start the work, and then this afternoon, when I leave my other site, I will bring those papers. So he left this one crew member there.
He left one person there.
He only had one, who started breaking up my 80 feet of sidewalk. Mr. Peach never returned that afternoon. The next morning, Mr. Peach came. He said, I need to have half down. At that time, it was $1,200. I said, fine, but that's only with the promise of this.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So you gave him $600.
I gave him $700, and I have proof of the canceled check.
Okay.
Because I added the patio to the job, which now was $150.
How big a patio?
It's I think it's 12 by 14. I have the
12 by 14 for $100?
$150. This is what he quoted. On that invoice, we added the patio for $150. So now the bill is $1,350. So I wrote a $700 half down, which is his requirement, check. And the work continued. And they finished it. They tore it all out and finished that part. All right, now that was on Thursday. On Friday morning, Mr. Peach came, and he had a flatbed on his truck. He loaded up his Bobcat. They were in the alley. I ran out, and I said, Mr. Peach, legal papers, contract, I want it now. I'll be right back, and I dropped this off to another site. Mr. Peach never came back, ever.
Okay, now I'm hearing you, sir.
The first day, she ordered the job done. I brought one crew, one member. He ripped out the sidewalk. He put it into a pile. We hauled it away that following morning. Okay, and then she said we could only work her hours. And that was at 10 o'clock. And I thought, well, okay, this is okay. I'll try. I understand she's a single woman, and she didn't want nobody on her property as long as she was there. Okay, then she wanted to add the patio, and I said that'd be another $1,150.
Who wrote this out?
He did.
I did.
It says patio, $150.
No, it should be $1,150.
Well, that's not what you wrote here,
sorry.
sir.
I made a mistake.
Mr.
He's
Peach,
lying.
Mr. Peach, do you understand the problem? I
Yes.
mean, $150 is sort of ridiculous to
Yes,
do a whole
it is.
patio. That's why I looked at her and I said, is she crazy? $150 to do a patio is stupid. You know, that's
Should be
clearly a
$1,150.
mistake.
I
It
didn't
should be
think it was going to come to
$1,150.
court.
Well, listen to me, sir. This is your contract. You
Yes.
wrote it out for want of. You acknowledge you wrote this out. It says patio, $150.
Yes, I realize that. Anyway, so then she calls me up and says she cannot work today because she was not going to be there. But I came out anyway, and she was there. But we could only work basically about a half hour, 45 minutes, because she was going to leave.
He's lying.
So,
Shh. Don't speak. Go ahead.
So we continued working, and then I asked her, I said, now, do you want me to remove this debris? And she said yes. And every time I would leave to get material, she would have this other guy, one of my workers, doing work for her. And I'd come back, and I'd say, well, how come this?
I told you not to speak.
I said, you know, I can't work like this. Every time I leave him here, he's supposed to be doing his job forming up for the concrete. I cannot work if you start telling these people what to do. I said, there's only one boss on the job, and that's me. She became dissatisfied and told us to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Show me the contract.
I don't have it.
Mr. Peach, do you have a drinking problem?
No, I don't.
I think something's wrong. Something's not wrapped too tight up here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teacher Yvette Davis is suing contractor Douglas Peach for breach of contract and for damages resulting from work done to her home. Douglas is countersuing, claiming Yvette breached their contract.
Did she ask you for a contract, sir, and for proof of insurance?
Yes, she did, and I showed her my contract and my proof of insurance.
Well, just show me the contract.
I don't have it. I didn't think to bring it.
You have a counterclaim for breach of contract, and you didn't think to bring the contract?
Well, I didn't think she was going to sue me.
Mr. Peach, do you have a drinking problem?
No, I don't.
No, I'm serious with you.
No,
That's
I
not,
don't.
It's not a joke.
I don't.
Because if you're a business, and you've been in business a while?
Yes.
You've been in business for a while, sir. And if what you're telling me is that you're an intelligent man, and if you're telling me that you didn't think it was important to bring a contract that you say you have to court, I think something's wrong. Something's not wrapped too tight up here. You're missing something. Do you understand?
I understand very.
All right. Now, Miss Davis, now we're going to get to you. What are you suing him for?
It's threefold. Breach of contract. I did stop the work, at least when they came back on the 18th of July. I would not allow any work to continue because there was no contract. On the 24th of July, he came out. We actually wrote it up. Wrote down everything that I needed to have done.
Can I see it, please?
And this is where he quoted me $1,600. And I said, Mr. Peach, when will you come back and continue the work? He said, I will come back on Monday. Monday came and no one showed up. I haven't been able to reach him or seen him.
Mm-hmm. Did you have somebody else finish the backyard?
Yes, I hired someone in September. I have all of that.
Good.
That I,
Can I see what you did in September? Shh, just show it to me.
Okay, let me.
So somebody else came and finished the job.
I hired another contractor, canceled checks, and the whole bill, the whole contract is there. I'm sorry.
According to you, Mr. Peach gave you a quote for the same job that you ultimately had done. Mr. Peach's quote was $1,600.
Right.
You paid somebody else almost $4,000.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes. I would have paid Mr. Peach that amount had he quoted that and drawn it up in the contract. I would have paid that.
Is there anything else you're suing him for?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I could not walk through the sidewalk area because it was so debris with broken up rock. So I had to walk through the center of my backyard that has all of that pile up of dirts and broken cement. That area in my yard is not lighted. And I fell 4 times at night coming in from concert one night, dinner. The 4th fall, I fell on my ulnar nerve, and I have a damaged nerve in this hand. So for a month and a half, I have been dropping hot pans of water and grease.
It's not his fault.
I know, but I'm saying I have a damaged.
It's not his fault.
I have a damaged nerve because of the fall.
It's not his fault.
But he left all that debris in my yard.
Not his fault.
And he drug out all the rocks.
Not his fault. What's the nature of your I'm speaking. What's the nature of your disability while you are not working?
I became very ill in October 1996 with necrotised and pancreatitis, and I spent 4.5 years in the hospital dying. And I am recovering from all of the
So you haven't worked since
surgeries.
1996?
I haven't worked since October 96.
Okay, fine.
So I was always available when Mr. Peach could come out and work.
Miss Davis,
I wanted to start.
Miss Davis, listen to me. You're not an unintelligent woman. And if you knew a job was worth $4,000 and somebody says that they're going to do it for you for $1,600, a red flag ought to go off in your head and say, something's wrong here. Either this man is drinking something, smoking something, or is not wrapped too tight. But he's certainly not going to work in my house because this job is not a $1,600 job. This job is thousands So there's something wrong. I could understand why you wanted to have a contract, but having a contract with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, who comes out for an estimate, gives you an estimate that you know is wrong, that you know is wrong.
Well, I don't.
That you, sure you do. That you know as a homeowner is wrong, and you say to him, sure, come on back and start this afternoon. Let's get it going. So I blame you because you are an intelligent woman and you should have known this was a big mistake. So my only question is, since you do not really have a contract with him, I have to make a determination whether you are entitled to any portion of your $700 back. You did, in fact, give him $700.
Yes, I did.
He did, in fact, work there for at least 2 days. So he gets 2 days' pay. The only 2 days' pay he's going to get is the $700 he's already got. Do you understand,
Yes,
sir?
I do.
You have a counterclaim for breach of contract. According to you, you had no contract.
No.
So you can't sue her for breach of contract.
Didn't know that.
So your $4,000 claim for a breach of contract is over. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. And it's unfortunate that you fell in your backyard, madam. If you fell in your backyard and if you weren't careful, then that's your problem. He's not responsible for that. Careful. All right. $700 is what you paid. $700 is what he's entitled to. I don't know what else you want back.
I'd like to have my nerve back.
Well, I can't give that to you. You should have been more careful. That's all. Case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Next time when I do a job for a lady,
I paid out $700
I'll write up a contract,
for the work that his crew did.
show her everything that I have before.
I'll check the Attorney General and
This is the first time anything ever happened like this.
anyone else that I can find to find shysters like this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Russell versus Tate. Step forward.
Nurse Pam Russell is suing her ex-boyfriend, Charles D. Tate, for the return of a hot tub and a Doughboy pool. Charles says both items were gifts.
Miss Russell, you moved in with Mr. Tate, and you lived with him at his home for about 5 months, according to what I read. You had your own home at the time, which you were in the process of selling. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved in with him, you did in fact sell your home, and you had in your home a pool and a hot tub, which you brought to Mr. Tate's home with his permission.
Correct.
And I gather that in order to install this pool and hot tub, there were some trees that were cut down. Is that right, Mr. Tate?
Yes, ma'am.
To make a long story short, the backyard was modified to accommodate the pool and hot tub. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you weren't getting along. Mr. Tate told you to leave. You left. You want your pool, your hot tub back, and you want expenses that you incurred, according to you, while you were living with him to sort of improve his house.
That's correct.
Let me see pictures of the backyard where the pool and the hot tub are. Miss Russell, when you brought this pool and hot tub over, what did you say to him?
I told him that I was putting my house up for sale and that, you know, if he wanted to, we would bring my pool and hot tub to his home and have it there to enjoy. Now, he referred to his home also as my home during that time.
Ma'am, she gave us this.
Shh. I didn't ask. Did you hear me ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Now, also, I helped him prepare this land, you know, as far as help him with it, help him with the trees, help him put the pool
I'm
up.
going to ask you, how many trees were cut down?
3.
We also had to do a bunch of bobcat work, dirt moving, whatever you want to call it, landscaping, surveying to get this pool in here level also.
Is that right?
That's right.
Now, what kind of expenses do you think you are entitled to be reimbursed for?
While I lived there, I had expenses on like painting the house inside. We remodeled the bathroom. I had a few things.
Ma'am, the whole time
Shh. What were those things?
Bathroom fixtures, paint, things for the outside, a garden.
So what makes you think, Miss Russell, that you are entitled to be compensated for that?
Well, I mean, after I got everything, you know, the pool, the hot tub there, and I got everything there, then of course he gets mad at me one day and just kicks me out.
You brought the pool over in anticipation, I assume, of you living there together as a unit. Is that right?
That's right.
And you think that you're entitled to take it?
That's right.
You are not. If this was something that did not become part of the property and there were no alterations in the property, you want to take it, I mean, take it. But once he modifies it, and he modifies his home, you don't get to take it back, nor do you get the value of it. Do you understand?
But the hot tub was just brought in, set down. It was never hooked up, no land preparation for the hot tub. So the hot tub was not in use.
Is that right, sir?
Well, we actually did get it hooked up, but we never did get to use it.
Okay, you don't mind if she takes the hot tub if she wants it, do you?
No, ma'am.
Great, you can come pick up the hot tub. When do you want to go pick up the hot tub?
As soon as I can go get it.
5 days from today, she has to make arrangements. If she doesn't come 5 days from today, she loses the right to do it. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a place to put it and somebody to pick it up 5 days from today's date. I'll prepare an order. Next, so things that you purchased for the house, you don't get reimbursed for. This was not a loan that you made to him. These were improvements that you contributed to while you were living in the house in anticipation that you were going to stay there. But you don't get compensated for that if it doesn't work out. That's why people get married. You see, if you get married and you make improvements to a house, then you have some vested interest in it because the law recognizes the state of marriage. The law does not recognize the state of living together or almost married or doing a test run. Do you understand? You don't have a case, Miss Russell. Sorry. We'll prepare the order with regard to the hot tub. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties number 332 on the calendar in the matter of Ramos versus Lowry. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Ramos, Mr. Lowry is your former boyfriend. You also have a child together.
Yes.
Your claim is that he owes you for some child support and also for some old loans before you separated.
Yes.
Mr. Lowry says that he doesn't owe you anything and you should really just move on. So I have some questions for you because I do have a question about this back child support. According to your complaint, you had made an arrangement with Mr. Lowry and he was paying a certain amount in child support. How much were you paying, sir?
For the first, I believe it was 2 months or 3 months, it was $800. That was for child support and whatever I owed her. And
whatever you owed her for what?
For the phone bill, that was pretty much it. And then I dropped it down to $600. And then I was going to lose my job.
Why were you losing your job?
Because I was relocating.
So it was voluntary. You weren't going to lose your job. You were quitting.
Yeah.
Why were you hesitating? I mean,
well,
I want to know whether you got let go, or either you were fired, the company went out of business, or you decided that you wanted another career opportunity.
I would just work, exactly. I wanted another career opportunity.
What kind of work had you been doing?
Sales.
Okay. Then what kind of job were you going to?
Sales.
Same job, different jurisdiction?
Exactly.
Okay. How long were you out of work?
2.5 months.
Why were you out of work so long?
Because I was getting everything situated down here so I could move up to Vegas and whatnot, and so...
Well, just a second. I don't understand, sir. Why did it take you 2.5 months to do that?
Things were going on with the company that I was working for that was hurting me, so I voluntarily left that job.
How was it voluntarily hurting you?
It wasn't the job for me, pretty much, you know, so I stopped working there.
So you stopped working voluntarily. Now, at the time you stopped working voluntarily for these 2 months, how much had you been immediately preceding that giving Miss Ramos for your son?
I was giving her up to $600 a month.
How much?
$475 right before he
1 month before.
Oh, it's fine. This is going to work to your favor.
Yeah,
I wouldn't argue with her.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I knew I was going to lose my job. Then I had asked her, look, instead of taking Dominic to the babysitter, since I'm not going to be working, I'll be able to help you out a lot more during the daytime while she's working, take care of my son, see him every day.
No, Mr. Lowry. That's all very nice. You have responsibility. You can't take you can't take a 2-month vacation from your job.
I wasn't.
You can't. Yes, you were. You would take a 2-month vacation. All right. And then what happened is you went to the family court, and you got a support order against Mr. Lowry, and they said for the 2 months that he didn't give you any money.
It was a little more than 2 months. I'm sorry.
How many months?
It was from April to August.
He didn't give you any money in April?
No money April, no money May, no money June, no money July, no money August.
5 months. Well, what took you 5 months?
Well, I was asking her if I could, instead of giving her $600 or $475 a month, since I'm not working, can I work it out some other way, like taking care of him instead of having the babysitter take care of him?
You already said that, and I already said to you that was the 2 months that you weren't working, Mr. Lowry.
Yeah, but it wasn't allowed to me.
Shh, listen to me. She was right. You don't take a vacation for 2 months and say, I'll babysit. Child has a routine. Child goes to a babysitter, goes to a daycare facility, goes to something else. As a parent, you could do that. You can take 2 months off. I don't care if you take off from today until next Tisha B'Av.
Exactly.
As long as you don't have children to support. When you have children to support, you don't say, I'm going to take a 2-month vacation.
And I wanted to support my child.
Then you shouldn't have quit your job. Listen to me.
physically.
Then you shouldn't have quit your job. Then you support and you visit on weekends. Go when
I
you're on
wanted to
vacation.
do it every day during
That's
work.
too bad. That's what comes under the category of too bad. What I want to know is, once you got to Las Vegas and you started to work, because you said you were only out of work 2.5 months, why didn't you start to send her money?
Well, I've just started working in Las Vegas September 23rd.
You said you were only out of work 2.5 months. She says you didn't pay her for 5 months.
Okay, I'd asked her, look, you know what, is there any way that we could work on this? So instead of paying you the money, can I take care of my son?
I've already addressed that, sir. I asked
know,
you
and
what happened when you went to work in Las Vegas. Why didn't you send her
It just
the money?
started. I just started in Las Vegas September 23rd.
She says there was a 5-month period when you didn't send her child support, Mr. Lowry.
I was trying to get to that, but you're
English?
interrupting me. I was trying to get to that, but you're not letting me finish.
I've gotten past babysitting for 2 months. Why didn't you send her money for 5 months?
I was trying to get to that.
Get to it.
I had asked her if I could please kind of do something else other than the money situation, because I wasn't going to have the money to support the child. I was volunteering to help any way that I could possibly do it. She didn't accept it. So I told her, if you want to do it by yourself, do it by yourself. If I have no say-so in the matter, do it by yourself. I'm still his dad, right? I'm still my father, my baby's dad. I believe if I'm not working...
What you're explaining to me, sir, because she refused your gracious offer to quit your job and babysit during the day for 2 months while you were making this transition, you didn't pay her support for the 5 months until she took you to court. Is that what you're telling me?
I didn't talk to her, yeah. I didn't talk to her for 5 months after that. Because I had told her if she wants to do it by herself,
Larry, I don't want to hear you anymore.
herself.
I don't want to hear you anymore. Sales is perfect for you. Maybe some people buy it. Not in this pew.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think this is much too complicated for you.
Try me.
Try it? Well, let's give it a try.
And later today,
I'd never keep my money in the bank, I promise.
Where did you put your check every week?
At the bank, at my bank.
You see how you're getting to be tripping over your tie there, sir?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Ramos says ex-boyfriend Chad Lowry owes for unpaid child support. Chad says he's been in between jobs.
You think that your $475 a month covers a child's expenses?
That's why I was giving her $800, $600.
No, you stopped giving her $800, $600.
And then it broke, yeah, because I couldn't afford it, that's why.
Listen to me. I don't give a rat's behind what you can afford. What I asked you was, do you think $475 a month covers a child's expenses?
No.
Food, clothing, medical, insurance, rent, daycare, babysitting while she works. You think?
I'm well aware of that.
You think that it covers that?
No.
No, of course not. So what you were doing was paying a portion.
Ask her what she was paying.
I'm speaking. She was working. You told me that you wanted to babysit while she was working instead of taking the child to the babysitter, right? That's what you just told me. She wasn't quitting her job.
Exactly.
Let me put it to you this way.
Exactly.
Let me put it to you this way, sir. Let us say this. I think this is much too complicated for you.
Try me.
Well, let's give it a try. Let's say Miss Ramos has a child with you, and she's a working lady, and a court fixes a support order for you, says, listen, this is what the child's needs are. A child needs $800 a month. She can afford from her job to pay $400, and you can afford from your job to pay $400. That's fair?
Mm-hmm.
Court makes an order, you've got to pay $400 a month. A couple of years go by, Miss Ramos decides to get married, and she has a new baby. And she says, I'm not working with this new baby. I want to stay home for a while, for a year or two, and mother this new baby. So, Mr. Lowry, she goes back to court, and the judge said, well, your baby still has $800 worth of needs. So now, Mr. Lowry, you have to pay $800 a month because she decided to stop working. How do you think you wouldn't like that?
I wouldn't.
No. Well, that's what you did.
But
you said,
never a
I'm
court
not
order.
working. I'm decided I'm not going to work for the next few months, so I'll take up the slack. You keep working.
Any which way I know how to.
Please,
If I don't have no money, what else
as
can
I
I
said,
do?
sales is wonderful for you. Miss Ramos, you haven't said much. But let me tell you this. You've also got a lot of other things. You've also got a lot of other claims here against him that I'm not even hearing because they're nonsense. Something that you were going to buy him for his birthday, you broke up, he said, I want it anyway, and I'll pay for it, a phone bill. I'm not interested in all that stuff. I'm interested in the child support. That's the big thing. And on the child support, he owes you a whole bunch of money. $2,115 is what he owes you for the child support when he voluntarily left his employment, which in my judgment he cannot do when he has responsibilities. I am only surprised that the family court, when they fixed his child support obligation, did not also fix an amount in arrears, because they should have. If they did not, I am prepared to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,115. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's extremely hard having to look a 2-year-old in the eyes and not have their father there.
I tried to do the best that I could possibly do.
Not have the child support there.
I mean, I still don't believe that about the child support issue.
And why? Because he wants to take a vacation?
I wasn't taking a vacation.
That's not fair.
I had left one job to go to another job.
This is not going to hinder his relationship with his son.
I'll be there as much as I could possibly be there for my son.
Him to be happy and me to be happy.
All parties in the matter of Carino versus Bradson, step forward, please.
Dental office manager Regina Carino is suing her ex-fiancé, electrician Ryan Bridson, for house payments. Ryan is countersuing, claiming Regina stole property from the home after they broke up.
The background of this case is simple, even though pretty stupid on your part. You were engaged and you decided to buy a house together. So clearly you don't pay attention to what I say. You don't buy anything jointly. A car, a house, a boat, a trailer, a truck, and anything, unless you're married, right? Okay. Your problem is that after you bought this house, the relationship went south, and shortly after you moved out, he stopped paying the mortgage. You paid the mortgage, according to you, for how many months?
From November till March.
November, December, January, February, March, the house was sold.
Yes.
So you paid it for 4 months or 5?
5.
5 months. You made the mortgage payment for 5 months, and when you sold the house, there was a profit, and the profit was $8,000. So each of you took $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want is, you want him to give you back the money that you spent on the mortgage when you weren't living there.
Yes, ma'am.
Which amounts to how much?
Just for the mortgage alone, totals up to $3,109.68.
What were the mortgage payments each month?
They varied depending. I was waiting on the defendant to make the payment, which some months it were different because it added a late fee.
I see. And then you say that he purchased some electronic equipment on a credit card that both of you had?
Yeah, it was in both our names. It was
Also,
after we separated.
Dumb, stupid. You don't pay attention. You don't listen. You don't get a credit card with somebody jointly if you're not married. Even when you're married, sometimes it's stupid. But for sure, when you're not married, it's stupid to have a joint credit card.
Yes.
And you say that electronic equipment was bought for the house?
It was actually for his vehicle. And I didn't find out
for his
until I got the
car?
bill. Yes.
For his car?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't pay the credit card bill off?
No, I'm still paying on it.
Well, that's what happens when you take out a joint credit card. So I'm going to deal with the mortgage payments only. Now, you have a cross-claim, and your cross-claim is that she and or her boyfriend broke into the house when you weren't there and stole electronic equipment. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Furniture also.
What proof do you have that they stole this equipment?
I have my witness was going to come, but he couldn't come, Your Honor, because
Well, then what proof?
I can give you his number. You can call him.
I don't do that.
I got proof that I have pictures of my furniture.
Listen to me.
Yes,
what proof do you have that the plaintiff and her boyfriend broke into your house to present to me today? If you have none, I will dismiss your case without prejudice. You can go file it again if you have proof. But without a witness, since you weren't home, you were in Florida, according to you, I can't make a determination that anybody committed a felony. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So let's stay with this house payment. Now, let us assume that she made and that she has records for $3,109 worth of mortgage payments that she made when she wasn't living in the house. You were living in the house. According to you, you fell on bad financial times.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you say in your answer.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Well, then why say no? Is it no or is it yes?
It's yes. The very last month, I did not pay her because we were receiving a settlement from the closure of the house, and I said, you can just take it out of that. But the other 4 months, I did pay, Your Honor.
Show me.
I
4
gave her
months.
straight cash, and she doesn't give me receipts or anything like that. I gave her straight cash on.
Mr. Brightson, show me bank accounts where you took out the cash from the bank account to give her.
It was all on trust, Your Honor.
No, you don't trust. A bank doesn't trust, sir. A bank doesn't trust. You said
We were still good
listen,
friends.
Listen to me. You said that you gave her the money for the mortgage payment in cash
Yes,
every
ma'am.
month.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have a receipt.
No, ma'am.
Now, you're not living together. You're not together. So the smart thing would have been either you write a check or you get a money order so you have some sort of a receipt. But okay.
We were friends.
Oh.
Sorry.
So I said to you, well, if you didn't have a check or a money order, show me your bank statement where you withdrew money from your bank every month to give her in cash.
Didn't, Your Honor.
You didn't. You kept it under the mattress. You accumulated the money
Yes,
every
ma'am, I
month
never
under the
kept my
mattress.
money in my bank
Do
account.
you know that I don't believe you, sir?
I'd never keep my money in the bank. I
No,
promise.
you never keep the money in the bank. What do you do for a living?
I'm an electrician.
You paid in cash?
Yes, ma'am.
When's the last time you filed tax returns?
Last year,
What did you say you earned last year?
32 grand.
And were you working for yourself or you working for somebody else?
Working for a company.
What's the name of the company?
Electric.
And Electric paid you in cash?
No, ma'am.
Electric paid you by check.
Yes, ma'am.
So if Electric paid you by check, where did you put your check every week?
I went and cashed it and I put it in my pocket.
Where did you cash it?
At the bank, at my bank.
You see how you're getting to be tripping over your tie there, sir? So you have a bank.
Yes, ma'am. But I don't put money in the bank. I use it to
No, what
cash
do you-
my check.
They don't cash your check, sir, unless you keep money in the bank.
$5.
Do you know that he honestly believes he's smarter than I am? Something happens to your brain, I think, when you have all that work done.
He just don't know you very well.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because according to your answer, I'm going to read you what you wrote, but you probably forgot because you're not so smart. And what you swore to. My roommate got laid off and my income wasn't enough to cover the bills, so I told Regina I was going to have to file for bankruptcy because I couldn't afford to pay off my debt. Regina didn't want the house to go into foreclosure, so she decided she would pay the mortgage.
For the
That's
one
what you
month.
said.
For the one
That's
month,
what
the
you-
very last month.
No,
And
sir.
I was going to file bankruptcy on my credit card.
Listen to me, sir. A house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month.
She was just running
Listen
her
to
mouth.
me.
Just
Listen to me.
exaggerating.
Listen to me. A house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month. You just told me a moment ago, I have a very good memory, Mr. Brightson. You just told her, well, take it out for the 1 month because we were closing in 1 month on the sale. And I'm telling you that a house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month, especially when you have a sale. So I believe her that she paid the mortgage from November when you say you fell on hard times and your roommate lost his job and you couldn't afford to pay all of your bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,109. But, Ms. Carino, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have taken care of all of this business when you closed on the house. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
What state do you live in?
Virginia.
Do you have attorneys when you close on property, or do you do that yourselves?
We did have an attorney at the time.
You had one lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
Did you raise the issue of the fact that he owed you money with your lawyer?
Yes, he wasn't going to have it. So
He wasn't gonna have it.
Yeah,
He wasn't gonna
he didn't
have
want me to get my share.
He's a loser. Forget about it. You're much better off. Got it?
Got it.
Thank you.
हेलो दोस्तों, ये अमरूद है जिसमें हम कलर करेंगे। तो देखिएगा हम कलर कैसे करते हैं। वीडियो पसंद आए लाइक करें, शेयर करें, कमेंट करें। सबसे पहले हम ग्रीन कलर करेंगे। अब हम करेंगे येलो कलर। दोस्तों हमारा कलर कंप्लीट हो गया है। आपको कैसा लग रहा है हमें कमेंट करके ज़रूर बताएं।